Welcome to this story. Tonight, we travel back to a time when life was neither soft nor silent. A world where sandals echoed on marble floors and the dust of yesterday settled quietly on stone. You are not in your bed tonight. You are somewhere, much older, where the wind whispers between clay walls and the air carries the scent of olive oil and dry bread. Let your shoulders drop, unclench your jaw, and allow yourself to drift as we take a slow, steady walk through the routines of an ordinary day in ancient Athens, beginning with the moment you open your eyes. Before we begin, if you enjoy long, sleepy journeys into the forgotten past, remember to subscribe and join us weekly for more quiet stories of ancient life designed to help you rest. Now close your eyes and imagine this. The sun has not yet risen fully, but the light is already creeping across the uneven stone floor of the small house. You are lying on a pile of straw wrapped in coarse cloth that smells of last year's dust. There is no mattress, no bed frame, no pillow, only the rough support of dried plants beneath you. Pressed hard against the hard-packed clay ground, the air is dry and carries the faint sting of smoke from the cold ashes of last night's fire. And somewhere nearby, someone coughs deep, raspy, unfiltered by doors or walls. Because privacy doesn't exist here the way you know it. Your eyes open to a ceiling made of rough-hewn beams and reeds that shift gently in the morning breeze, letting filtered sunlight streak your face as insects crawl across the wood. You're already sweating a little, even though the morning is cool, because the woolen cloth wrapped around you is thick and itchy, its coarse fibers clinging to your skin after another night of rolling on unforgiving ground. There's a sound of sandals on stone outside, someone already starting the day before the sun fully climbs the sky. And you can hear the chickens rustling, the clatter of pots, and the low hum of a neighbor's voice arguing with her son. In this Athens home, there is no true silence. You share this space with too many people, and every whisper, every movement, every sneeze is shared too. Here, if you want to relieve yourself, there's a pot in the corner, hidden modestly behind a woven curtain, but that curtain doesn't mask smell or sound. You'll have to empty it later, probably in the shared alley where wastewater trickles in a shallow ditch. Your back hurts, not from any injury, but from the daily wear of sleeping on woven straw. And your first thought is not coffee or comfort, but survival. What chores must be done, what meals must be prepared, what the weather might permit. You reach for your tunic, a short sleeveless garment made from the same thick, scratchy wool as your blanket, folded and set neatly on a wooden chest. And as you slip it over your head, you feel the stiffness of unwashed cloth rub against your skin. Water is precious here. Baths are not daily, and the dust of many days lingers on your arms and neck. Your feet are bare, calloused from years of walking unshod, and you can already feel the roughness of the ground against your heels. There are no mirrors in your home, at least. None that show a clear image, so you do not know if your hair is tangled or your face smeared with sleep. You run your hands over your head and smooth what you can, hoping to appear presentable to others in your household. The hearth is cold. Someone will have to rekindle it. You reach for flint and tinder, crouching low near the ashes, blowing gently to coax a glow from the gray remains of yesterday's coals. Hands are dry and cracked from years of this ritual, and as you breathe onto the spark, you're careful not to inhale too deeply the fine, gritty soot that rises with each breath. The fire, once caught, is weak and flickering. There is no instant heat, only the slow, smoky build of a reluctant flame. You rise, knees creaking, and begin to grind the Barleto day's breakfast, the same as every day on the stone slab near the hearth. The sound is rough and rhythmic, the weight of the stone grinding into the grain again and again. Your arms are tired even before you've begun your chores. You mix the meal with water, shape it into rough cakes, and place them near the fire, on a flat piece of pottery, turning them carefully so they don't burn. There is no salt, No sugar, no spice, just grain and water. A diet shaped by survival and simplicity. As the cakes harden, you move to gather the clay cups for the morning drink. Watered down wine. More water than wine, because water alone is rarely trusted. You've seen what flows from the wells, and you know how sickness spreads. The wine, acidic and thin, masks the taste of what lies in the water. You sip slowly, not for pleasure but for necessity. It's warm already. The sun has climbed a little higher. Outside, the sounds grow louder, calls from neighbors, the shuffle of feet, the lowing of animals being taken to pasture. There is no solitude here, only the endless company of others' family, slaves, neighbors, strangers. You step outside for air onto a narrow stone lane where dust clings to your skin and the scent of nearby waste competes with that of fresh bread. The street is alive with motion. A man leads a goat. A child runs barefoot, laughing, covered in dirt. A woman pours water from a jar into the street's edge, where it disappears in a shallow groove. There is no privacy, no fences, no boundaries, just walls of plaster and clay that crumble in places, patched with care and desperation. As you begin your day, your body aches not from sickness, but from the very effort of being alive in a time that does not soften itself for you. And as the sun climbs higher and your feet tread over sun-warmed stone, you begin to understand that life here is beautiful. Yes, but beauty in this place is not soft. It is not quiet, and it is never easy. The day has just begun, and already you feel the weight of it settling on your shoulders. Welcome to Athens. Sleep now, in your time, with the comfort of your bed and blankets, knowing that in this old, dry, waking world, you wouldn't have lasted a day. Welcome to this story. Tonight, we return once more to the winding, sun-baked lanes of ancient Athens, a city not yet filled with traffic or noise as we know it today, but with the crackle of open fires, the shuffling of sandals, and the whisper of worn cloth moving past rough clay walls. Close your eyes and let your breathing slow. Let go of the modern world's rhythm, the buzz of screens, the ticking of clocks, the hum of machines, and slip gently into a time when people woke to the sun, to voices, and to the hunger that greeted them like an old friend. As you settle, into stillness, I invite you to subscribe to our quiet corner of history. We bring you stories designed not to excite, but to ease you into rest. Every week, one civilization at a time. And now, let us begin. Imagine you've just woken up on a worn bundle of straw. Your body aches from the hard ground beneath you. You're already dressed in your scratchy wool tunic, and your feet are bare, pressing against the cool, dusty floor. Outside, you hear the groaning of a wooden cart, the bleating of a goat, and the sudden sharp call of a market woman shouting prices. But before any task can begin, before even a conversation can be held, there is one ancient tradition that must be observed: breakfast, the simple act of eating before the day fully arrives. Yet, this meal is nothing like the steaming plates, sweet spreads, or roasted aromas you might be used to. Here, breakfast is a ritual of necessity, not of comfort or flavor. It begins with bread, not the soft, golden loaves you see in bakeries, flat, but a hard, dry, and sometimes days-old disk of barley-based dough, flat and slightly bitter, baked without yeast or warmth. The bread has been left from yesterday, or perhaps the day before, wrapped in cloth to keep it from growing stale too quickly, but it is still rough, and as you hold it, it flakes at the edges, crumbling into your palm. There is no butter. There is no jam. There is no honey unless your household is fortunate. You chew slowly because chewing is laborious. The bread is dense and grits between your teeth. It scrapes your tongue and sticks to the roof of your mouth, demanding water or something like it. So you turn to wine. but not the wine of feasts and celebrations, not the full-bodied, fragrant kind sipped from crystal. This is thin, sour, and heavily watered-down wine, meant not for indulgence, but for purification. The water here is dangerous, sometimes drawn from shallow wells or open cisterns where insects dance across the surface, and to drink it plain would invite illness. So the wine is mixed in, just enough to mask the taste, to hide the possibility of what lingers in still water. You sip carefully from a simple clay cup, one that has been used many times, its rim smooth and darkened by years of fingers and lips. The drink is neither cold nor refreshing, but it is wet, and on this dry morning that is enough. If you are from a wealthier home, there may be olives black, shriveled, and salted, placed on a shared plate with a small knife to slice what you need. But most mornings, for most people, breakfast is bread and wine. Day after day, no eggs, no milk, no sugar, no fruit unless it is in season and you are lucky. The very idea of sweet cereal or hot porridge would be strange here. You eat sitting on a short stool or the floor, with family or servants nearby, all sharing the same dish, all chewing in silence or low murmurs, eyes still puffy from sleep. The meal is over quickly. There is no lingering, no reading of the news, no steaming coffee to sip as the day warms. Instead, when the bread is eaten and the cup is empty, the dishes are wiped with an old cloth and placed aside to be used again later. There is no running water. You must walk to the well to clean anything, and water is not wasted. You wipe your fingers on your tunic or a shared cloth, and you move on. Children, if present, may complain. They may ask for more, but there is no more. The bread was measured carefully, and every household knows exactly how many meals each loaf can support. Hunger is common, fullness is rare, and this is only the beginning. For those expected to work, breakfast is just the bare minimum of strength to carry a basket. Spin wool, grind more barley, or tend to animals. For men heading to the agora, the public square, it is a preamble to political debates or lectures. For women, it is the moment before the daily rhythm of domestic labor begins scrubbing, spinning, weaving, preparing the next round of food. If you are a child, you may run outside after eating, but even then, the bite of hunger will return, bit for noon, and there will be no snack, only waiting. This meal is not for comfort. It is not for pleasure. It is for a function. You may have seen feasting scenes painted on pottery or sung of in place tables of roasted lamb, baskets of grapes, dishes filled with honey cakes. But those are exceptions. Festivals, dreams. Not this day, not this hour. Your morning meal, every morning, is nearly the same. Dry bread that hurts your teeth, and watered wine that burns a little as it goes down. There are no smells of cinnamon or citrus, no buttered toast, just silence, soft chewing, and the distant sound of someone coughing outside. You wipe the crumbs from your fingers and rise. Your stomach is not full, but it is no longer empty, and that, for now, is enough. The rest of your day lies ahead, work, heat, dust, and the weight of ancient life pressing softly against your every step. Sleep now, here in your world of comfort, cane variety, knowing that in theirs, breakfast was a ritual of endurance, not ease. And tomorrow, when you pour your coffee or unwrap your toast, you'll remember, in ancient Greece, even the first meal of the day could test your strength. Close your eyes now. Rest gently. The past is quiet here. You wake with the sun higher in the sky now, its dry warmth already pressing gently against the clay walls of your home. The soft whir of insects humming from the shadows, and the dust, dent in the air, dancing through streaks of light like slow-falling sand. Your morning meal has passed, and now the next task looms washing. not the comforting, warm spray of modern showers or the thick, fragrant lather of soap, but something much simpler, colder, and far more public. In ancient Greece, cleanliness was not a private affair. Water was precious, stored in clay jars, fetched from shared wells, and most homes did not have the means for bathing beyond a simple basin and cloth. For true washing, one would often make their way to the public fountain or communal bathhouse, a space that offered not comfort, but functionality. As you leave the house with a small jar of olive oil and a worn piece of linen, the sun is already making your skin sweat, and your feet carry the dust of yesterday's streets. The road is dry and uneven, and each step sends small clouds of powder around your ankles. At the edge of the square, beside the stoa, a few others are already gathered men mostly, some older, their backs bent with time, their voices low and slow, discussing nothing of great urgency. The bath area is not private. There are no doors to shut, no steam-filled chambers, no tiled walls echoing water's warmth. It is open or partially enclosed, depending on the city and the season, and whatever privacy you imagine must be replaced, with the understanding that the human body here is not hidden. Remove your tunic, folding it carefully and placing it on a stone ledge already warmed by the sun. The ground is uneven, and you step cautiously on the wet stone beneath your feet. The residue of a dozen others' washings already pooled sit in shallow dips. There is no soap. That word, that concept, that slippery square of scented chemical luxury does not exist. Instead, you take the olive oil and begin to rub it slowly into your skin, not for aroma or softness, but because it is the best way to loosen the grit and sweat from your pores. The oil is thick, not perfumed, and as it spreads across your arms and chest, it darkens the dust but does not remove it. You reach for a strigil, a curved metal scraper with a dull edge, and begin the work of scraping the oil from your skin, bringing with it the grime of your labor, the flakes of old sweat, and the faint powder of the city. The sensation is neither painful nor soothing. It is ordinary, repetitive, and slow. The metal is cool, your skin slightly raw. You move with care, scraping long strokes along your limbs, then your chest, your shoulders, your neck. Each pass removes a thin layer of filth, leaving your skin bare and slightly oily still. Water comes next, but it is not warm. It is stored in large clay amphorae or flows in a thin trickle from a nearby fountain, collected in stone basins open to the sky. You bend and pour it over yourself, slowly, carefully, cupping it with your hands. It shocks your skin. There is no heat here, only the cold embrace of water that has waited in shadows, drawn from a deep source. You do not feel refreshed. You feel rinsed, in the simplest sense, your body shivering slightly from the chill. You dry yourself not with a towel, but with a cloth worn, coarse, sometimes barely absorbing. There is no fragrance left behind, only the scent of earth and oil. And still, you are not quite clean. The scent of sweat lingers in your underarms and on your scalp, and you know it will return within the hour. For there are no antiperspirants, no powders, no perfumes that stay. Some might rub crushed herbs or flowers against their skin, say can find them more, wear a small pouch of scented leaves tied around the neck. But these are tokens, not solutions. You put your tunic back on over your slightly damp body. The wool clings where your skin is still wet. Itches begin at the back of your neck and under your arms. Your sandals are placed carefully on your feet again, though dust finds them immediately. Others are waiting to wash. You move aside, not to linger. There is no spa, no sauna, no mirrors, and no music. Bathing here is a necessity, not an escape. In winter, the water is colder still. In rural places, even less is available. Sometimes, people go days without a full washing. using only small cloths dipped in water to rub the most essential parts: face, hands, feet. Hair is rarely washed, and lice are common. Children are taught early to endure it. Women, when permitted, bathe apart, less frequently, more modestly, and often with limited access. For many, especially slaves, there is no bathing at all unless set, the master allows it. And when allowed, it is quick, impersonal, and functional. Q. Walk away from the bathhouse with skin scraped but not softened, slightly clean but not comfortable. The sun is higher now, and already the sweat begins to form again beneath your tunic. You feel the stickiness in the crook of your elbow, the itch at the base of your back. This will remain with you for the rest of the day. The scent of your skin will change as the hours pass, and by evening it will return to what it was before: dust, sweat, earth, and oil. This is hygiene, ancient and simple, performed not for beauty or luxury but for necessity. And it is far, relaxing. As you return to your home, passing others in the street who smell just as you do, you realize that cleanliness is not a destination. Here it is a fleeting state, constantly chased but never fully caught. Close your eyes now. Let the noise of the street fade, the chill of cold water drift from your skin, and the scent of ancient dust settle into sleep. For in ancient Greece, to be clean was a task without end, a ritual of scraping and rinsing, never of comfort or warmth. You have dried yourself the best you could, but your skin still holds the memory of cold water and the faint sheen of olive oil, and now comes the next daily discomfort: clothing. In ancient Greece there were no closets lined with colorful garments, no soft cotton, no elastic waists, no zippers or tailored fits. Set. Instead, you reach for what you wear every day: a rectangular piece of woolen cloth, woven by hand on a simple wooden loom, heavy with coarse threads that scratch against your arms as you lift it. This garment, known as a kitten, is simple in its shape and unforgiving in texture. The wool has not been processed with softeners, and though it keeps you warm in winter, it offers little comfort in warmer months. The kitten is not shaped to the body, but wrapped and pinned at the shoulders with brooch soffin made of bronze or bonand, belted at the waist with a cord, forming a loose drape that may look graceful from a distance but feels rough and unrelenting on the skin. As you pull it over your head, the fabric clings where your skin is damp, dragging across your back with an abrasive friction that makes you flinch. There is no undergarment to soften the sensation or linen lining, no silk slip, nothing between you and the wool. You tie the belt, adjusting the folds carefully so that the length falls correctly, not too high to seem indecent, and not too low to trip you as you walk. The belt is not decorative. It holds the garment together and keeps it in place. Otherwise, it might slide, exposing your shoulder or legs in ways that invite judgment or mockery. For women, the clothing is longer and more restrictive, a pepless or a longer kitten, often made with the same scratchy wool, sometimes dyed faintly with natural pigments ochre, saffron, or faded bluebot, never rich or soft unless the family is wealthy. The pins at the shoulders are sharp. Accidents happen. Children often poke themselves while trying to dress. You feel the sting where the metal has rubbed against your skin, leaving a faint red line. Over this, if the weather is cooler or if modesty demands, you may add a himatiana, heavier cloak, also made of wool, worn draped over one shoulder and across the body, offering warmth but adding weight. The himatian does not fasten with buttons, core ties. You must keep it in place with careful folding and constant adjustment. It shifts as you move, slides as you turn, and catches the breeze like a sail. You stroll so as not to trip over it. Sandals complete the outfit, though they too care no comfort. Made of leather straps over a flat sole, they provide little cushion and no arch support. The straps dig into the tops of your feet if pulled too tightly, or flop loose if not tied carefully. Walking through the uneven streets of Athens, the sandals gather dust quickly, and pebbles often lodge beneath your heel. You pause to shake them out more than once before noon. For those who are poor or enslaved, footwear may not be worn at all. Their feet are hardened by stone, and their clothing is even rougher used, refolded, restitched many times until it barely resembles its original shape. There is no laundry machine. To clean your clothes, you must soak them in water mixed with ash or lye, pound them on stones, and hang them to dry in the sun. The smell of sweat never fully leaves. Perfume, for those who can afford it, is made from crushed herbs mixed in oil, dabbed at the neck or wrists. But it fades quickly and cannot mask the daily scent of wool, dust, and labor. If you live near the agora, you may pass people dressed, cane in finer wool-dyed purple, perhaps, or embroidered with geometric patterns, but even those garments, admired for their design, share the same coarse base. Fashion here is not a matter of comfort. It is about function, modesty, and status. You will wear the same outfit again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next, unless it tears or weathers too thin. Clothing is expensive, time-consuming to make, and not disposable. Your mother or wife, or you may have spent months weaving just one garment, counting threads, fixing snags, rubbing sore fingers across the loom. Each fiber was a day's work, and now it scratches your shoulder as you lift your arm to carry a basket. It itches at the neck, where sweat gathers. You shift it again and again, but there is no relief. A breeze comes through the alley, lifting the edge of your himation and carrying dust with it, and you feel the grit settle between the folds of your clothing and your skin. You sigh, not loudly, and pull the cloak tighter. The day is just beginning. You are dressed, but not at ease. Your garments tell others that you are respectable, obedient to the customs, covered, and compliant. But in truth, you are uncomfortable, and you always will be. Even in sleep, you may not undress fully. You will lie down with the kitten still, wrapped around you, or with the cloak folded beneath your head, hoping that in the night the wool will soften, that the fibers will relax. But they rarely do. You scratch your forearm and wonder if this is what it means to live honorably here. To be dressed correctly and never quite at peace with your skin. Sleep now. Rest gently under your soft blanket, far from the pinching brooches and heavy wool. The Greeks knew elegance in form, but not in fabric. You wouldn't last a day in their clothes. The light outside your home grows brighter. The buzz of the streets becomes louder, but your world remains dim and quiet, wrapped in walls that echo only the footsteps of those within. If you are a woman in ancient Greece, your day does not unfold in the public eye. The agora, the baths, the philosophical gatherings, they are not for you. Your life is here, in the house, where the air is still and the tasks are many, where daylight filters softly through a high, narrow window that was never meant for watching the world, but only for letting in enough sun to see your work. Your space is defined by custom, tradition, and control. The gyneconitis, the women's quarters, is not a room of leisure. It is the center of your duties, weaving, spinning, mending, managing the household slaves, if any, and preparing meals. You move through it barefoot, careful not to disturb those who might be resting or working nearby. Your fingers are already raw from handling wool, your back slightly bent from hours at the loom. You rise early and go to sleep late, your time marked not by the chimes of clocks, but by the rhythm of chores. There is no book to read, no radio to play, no window to open for a breath of freedom. Even the conversations are quiet-spoken in low tones with your daughters, perhaps, or with an older female relative. Visitors are rare, and when they come, you must remain hidden, unless the guest is a woman or someone trusted by the family. Your presence is not meant for the outside world, and your name is rarely spoken beyond the home. If your husband speaks, true of you, it is with formality and restraint. You are honored through your silence, through your invisibility. You begin your day by sweeping the floors with a bundle of twigs tied with a leather strap, collecting dust into little piles, then scooping it with a piece of broken pottery. There is always more dust, always more crumbs, always another corner. Too clear. After sweeping, you prepare the dough, kneading it slowly, pressing your palms into the mixture again and again as it sticks to your fingers and the stone table beneath it. The clay oven must be stoked, the fire coaxed from yesterday's ashes, and the bread watched with care lest it burn. As the house fills with heat and the smell of barley, you move to the loom. The wool spun into yarn hangs in tangles, and you must thread it carefully, watching for knots, correcting mistakes with hands that ache. The rhythm of weaving is hypnotic, a soft creak of wood and whisper of thread that marks your hours more faithfully than any sundial. You may pause to feed a child, to comfort a crying niece, to give water to an elder, but your hands never stay idle long. If a slave works beside you, you must guide her, instruct her, discipline her if necessary. For the household's reputation depends on your ability to manage quietly and well. There are no days off. Festivals may bring brief changes, bread, perfumed oil, perhaps a song, but these are exceptions. The expectation remains. You are the keeper of the home, and the home must run smoothly. You do not walk outside without reason, and even then you may only go veiled, escorted, moving quickly from one door to another. The street is not your space. If you hear the laughter of men outside, if you catch the distant echo of a flute player or the shouts from the market, you feel them as if through stone, present but unreachable. Return to your weaving, to your quiet. Your clothes are carefully kept, your posture trained. Even your laughter is soft. If you speak too much or too loudly, you are judged. If you are seen too often beyond the home, you are questioned. You do not own your time. You live for the family's honor, for the children's health, for the comfort of the men who move in and out of the house with the freedom you cannot imagine. When your husband returns, you greet him quietly, your eyes lowered. You may serve him wine, wash his feet if custom demands, then retreat again into your corner. You sleep in a room apart, sometimes with children, sometimes alone. The straw mattress is no softer for women, and the wool still scratches your skin. You dream of little because dreaming is a luxury, and rise again with the sun. Your world is bounded by walls not of stone, but of silence, duty, and repetition. There is no rebellion in your step, only the steady, endless rhythm of doing what must be done. And yet, in this quiet, you have power. You control the household gods, the daily rituals, and the feeding and teaching of children. Your presence is unspoken but central. Still, comfort eludes you. You are always working, always listening, always waiting for the next task. Sleep now, in your world where doors are yours to open, where voices may rise and wander freely. In ancient Greece, women did not walk in the open, they stayed inside, where the light was dim, the chores were many, and the silence never truly ended. The sun climbs higher now, casting sharp shadows beneath the wooden eaves and illuminating dust that hangs in the air like fine golden threads. If you are a boy in ancient Greece, your day does not linger in idleness after breakfast. Instead, you are prepared for school, though the word hardly matches the modern image of structured classrooms, printed books, or cheerful routines. Education here is not for all, and it is certainly not easy. Girls remain at home, but boys, especially those from wealthier households, are expected to begin their learning early, often just after sunrise, under the guidance of a slave assigned to accompany and watch over the young student, not just for safety, but to ensure obedience and discipline. Q. Walk to the agora, the central public space of the city, where vendors shout, philosophers argue, and lessons are hidden in the corners of shaded colonnades or behind the worn doorways of humble rooms. There is no building marked school. Education is carried out wherever space allows. A teacher's rented room, a quiet courtyard, the back of a small workshop. You carry no books, no backpack only, a wax tablet, a stylus, and perhaps a small pouch of pebbles for arithmetic. Your feet are dusty, your tunic simple, and you must arrive quietly and sit cross-legged on the floor or a low bench. Your eyes lowered, your voice still. There are no colorful walls, no charts, no ink pens, no chalkboards. Only the voice of your grammatician, the teacher sharp and steady, often impatient, echoing in a tone that expects precision. You begin with recitation, letters, syllables, then words. The alphabet is sung aloud again and again, rhythmically and strictly. If your tongue stumbles, the teacher may strike the bench near you with a stick, or in some cases your palm. Discipline is not gentle here. You are taught that memory is muscle, and muscle is shaped through repetition, sickte and pain. You are expected to memorize entire passages from Homer the Iliad, the Odyssey not, because they are poetic, but because they teach rhythm, vocabulary, and values. You chant verses aloud with your classmates, sometimes struggling to remember the order, the pronunciation, and the meaning. There is no translation. You are taught in Greek, often archaic, and must grasp the weight of every line through sheer exposure. When it comes time to write, you open your wax tablet, a shallow wooden frame filled with soft wax, and use your stylus, a thin, pointed tool of bone or metal, to scratch letters into the surface. The wax is not always smooth. If the day is too hot, it softens too much. Too cold, and it cracks. Your hand cramps from the awkward position. And any mistake requires heating the wax slightly or smoothing it out with the flat end of the stylus, too, before trying again. There is no ink, no paper, no eraser, only patience and pressure. For mathematics, you use small stones or your fingers. Addition, subtraction, and sometimes basic geometry if you're older. The teacher calls out problems, and you must answer quickly. Delay is punished, not always physically, but often with sharp words and mocking correction. Logic is valued. Speed is respected. But there is no nurturing praise, only expectation. The lessons continue until midday. There are no breaks, no recess. You may be allowed to eat a small piece of bread or drink some water, but only quickly, and without distraction. The room grows hot, the dust thickens, and your eyes blur from the strain of repetition. If your family is wealthy enough, you might have a second session later with a music teacher, learning to play the lyre or to sing with proper posture and clarity. The music is not for joy, it is for discipline and tradition, or perhaps a lesson. In gymnastics, where your body is trained with the same rigidity as your mind. Exercises in wrestling, running, or throwing are done with little concern for injury. You must be strong, precise, and composed. You may be scolded if you grunt or cry out. There is no softness in education here. The goal is to shape a citizen, obedient, eloquent, restrained. You return home exhausted, your hands sore from writing, your throat raw from chanting, your knees stiff from sitting for hours, and there is still more memorization to do. Your pedagogos reminds you to review your verses. Ye sit near a lamp at dusk, its oil smoke curling in the air, and whisper lines into the darkness until your eyes close mid-sentence. There is no joy in learning, only expectation, duty, and repetition. The philosophers you hear in the distance speak of truth and virtue, but you are still too young to understand their meaning. For now, learning is an endurance test. You are told it will shape you. You believe it because there is no other way. You scratch another line into your wax and know it will fade tomorrow, to be written again. Sleep now, with your pens and paper. Nearby, your books printed, your teachers trained to be kind. In ancient Greece, education was a burden endured, not a joy embraced. You wouldn't last a day sitting in their shadowed rooms, writing with no ink, memorizing without mercy. The day has grown warmer, and in the narrow back lanes of the city, the smell of dust and labor clings to every surface. You may think of yourself as a free citizen, but in ancient Greece that would rarely be true for long. If fate had turned only slightly, if your city had fallen to war, or if your family had lost a debt, you might not be here learning philosophy. Or walking to the agora, you might be in someone else's home, nameless and owned. Slavery in ancient Greece was not rare. It was ordinary, expected, a part of every household's rhythm. From the wealthiest merchant to the modest artisan, nearly every home kept slaves, and their presence was not questioned. You might be a man or woman, a boy or girl, born in Thrace or captured from a nearby island, brought to market in Athens with your name replaced by a price tag. No ceremony, no legal record for your feelings. You are property. If you are young, key, and strong, you may be brought to work in the fields, carrying baskets of olives beneath the scorching sun, your shoulders aching under endless loads, your hands calloused, your back burned. If you are a woman, perhaps you are taken for domestic service cooking, cleaning, spinning wool, washing the children of those who own you. You rise before the family wakes, and you sleep after they do, if at all. Your bed is a corner of the kitchen or a shed outside, and your blanket is whatever cloth has worn too thin to keep in the master's room. You speak little unless spoken to. You do not eat with the family. Your food is simple, often their leftover stale bread, cold broth, a few olives if you're lucky. Your name, if used, is not yours. It is assigned to you. You wear what is given to you, usually coarse, colorless garments, ill-fitting and handed down through many others. You bathe only when allowed. You are punished swiftly if your work is slow. You may be whipped or denied food. You may be sold again. If your owner is kind, life is bearable. If he is not, you endure. There is no appeal, no court, no protection, no rest. If you are literate, that knowledge may be hidden, for a slave who reads is viewed with suspicion. Some slaves are used as tutors, trusted to teach children because of their foreign education, but they are never treated as equals. Q might live in the same house for years, raise its children, even be buried near its garden, and still, you are not family. You belong to them. If you run away and are caught, your fate is not mercy. You may be branded, chained, beaten, or killed, can still. Many tried, running barefoot through forests or hiding in empty buildings, hoping that someone might offer shelter, but most do not. Harboring a slave is a crime, and even if you escape, where would you go? You have no coin, no family, no identity. If you are owned by the state, you may work in the mines dark, wet caverns where air is thick and light is scarce, where men and boys dig day and night, many of them never to see the sun again. Here muscles grow hard. Your lungs weaken, and your fingers break, one by one, from the endless labor. You are not remembered. You are not named in records or poems. You do not write your own story. Even in death, you may be thrown into a common grave without ceremony. Some slaves serve in the temples, sweeping the altars, tending to fires, and feeding the animals for sacrifice. These tasks offer less cruelty, but no freedom. There is no place in ancient Greece untouched by home, No field, no market, no temple. Children grow up knowing it is normal. Boys are told they may own a slave when they are older. Girls are told to manage them firmly. You might, on a different day, be the one giving orders. But today, you are the one who must obey. You hear footsteps and stand quickly. You lower your gaze. You speak only when asked. Q. Carry the water, scrub the pots, spin the wool, and clean the feet of someone younger than you. You do it without pause, because that is your role. If you are lucky, you will grow old in the same house and die quietly. If not, you may be salt again, or beaten, or forgotten. Sleep now, if you can, in the comfort of a world that no longer marks people by ownership. Kin. In ancient Greece, your fate could change in a moment, and if it did, you would not have lasted a day as a slave. The body, even in its youth, does not escape illness, and in ancient Greece, sickness is not a matter of quiet rest and warm blankets. It is a mystery, a punishment, a balancing act of elements gone wrong. And when it finds you, whether through a fever in the summer or a wound that will not close, it is a trial of the spirit as much as of the flesh. There are no hospitals here, no antiseptic tools, no painkillers, no white-coated healers with machines that hum and monitor. Instead, there are men with beards and calm voices who carry knives wrapped in cloth, herbs hung in bundles, and theories shaped more by philosophy than by anatomy. See. The humors must be balanced. They say blood, phlegm, black bile. Yellow biland if one is in excess. The body must be drained or fed or burned into harmony. If you cough through the night, they may say your lungs are filled with dampness, but that your phlegm is cold, that you must be dried with hot drinks and bloodletting. A small incision near your elbow, a clay bowl to catch what pours out, and your weakness will be counted as healing. If your stomach churns, they may offer bitter herbs, wormwood, rue, hyssop boiled and strained through linen, so strong in taste they make your tongue numb. If you have a fever, they may wrap you in a wet cloth and leave you in the shade, or cover you in thick blankets to sweat the heat out of your skin. The diagnosis depends not on science, but on balance, memory, and belief. Wounds are packed with honey and wine clean in theory, but without understanding why. Bandages are made from linen strips and tied too tightly or not tightly enough. There is no sterilization, no gloves, no knowledge of bacteria. If an injury swells or discolors, the physician may use a heated knife to open it, to release the humors trapped within. There is no numbing oil strong enough. You are expected to endure. If a limb is broken, it is pulled straight and bound with wooden slats and leather straps, and you are told not to move. If the pain is too much, you are quieted by poppy seed, drinks, bitter and cloudy, strong enough to fog your thoughts, but not enough to make you sleep through the worst of it. There are no surgeries as you know them, only cutting and praying. If your tooth aches, it may be pulled with a piece of string and a fast jerk of the wrist. If it breaks mid-pull, it stays, and you endure the swelling until it bursts on its own. Women who give birth do so on low stools, knees drawn up, surrounded by other women and midwives who know the signs of trouble but can do little to stop it. If the child is stuck or the bleeding does not stop, there is no recourse. Both may be lost, and only the gods will know why. Illnesses come and go without names. A sore throat might lead to death in 3 days. A cough in the winter becomes a long-lasting wasting until the body gives out. Children die often, and it is mourned, but expected. There are charms and prayers, sacred springs and temples to Asclepius, where the sick may sleep and dream of healing. Snakes glide through the corridors. Offerings are left. Sometimes people walk away feeling better. Sometimes they do not walk away at all. There is no chart of symptoms, no record of treatment. What works for one man fails for another. What heals a wound may also bring infection. Physicians keep scrolls filled with theories, but much is guesswork. And if you are poor or a slave, you may not see a physician at all. You are treated with local knowledge, with poultices and prayers, or left to rest in the corner until nature. Death is your fate. Death is common. Pain is constant. Medicine is not a relief, but a hope that suffering can be shortened. You lie on a thin mat, sweating through the wool, your throat dry, your breath shallow. The room is warm, too warm. Flies gather near the basin of water. A woman wipes your face with a damp cloth. There is no silence, only the quiet groans of others who share your fate. If you survive, you will walk with a limp or a scar or a cough that never quite goes away. If you do not, you will be buried without explanation. Sleep now, in a world where medicine is sterile, quiet, and filled with light. In ancient Greece, healing was an art of hope, not science, and every illness could be your last. You wouldn't last a day under the care of their hands. You step outside, not for pleasure but out of necessity, cleaving behind the dim quiet of the home, and entering the light and noise of the ancient Greek street, a place not made for comfort, nor leisure, but for movement, observation, and judgment. There are no smooth pavements, no shaded lanes, no fragrant gardens lining your walk. The road beneath your feet is a mixture of packed dirt, broken stone, and small ruts carved by the carts that pass through each day, carrying oil jars, baskets of olives, slabs of meat wrapped in cloth or clay, vessels filled with wine. The sun is sharp, and the dust clings to your sandals and ankles, rising in little clouds with every step. There is no escape from it. The air is dry and restless, filled with the overlapping sounds of haggling voices, low murmurs of gossip, animals braying, and distant footsteps echoing off plastered walls. The city is alive, but never quiet. You walk, with your eyes cast slightly downward, careful where you step, not just to avoid waste from passing donkeys or spilled fish guts near the market, but because every glance is noticed. Everyone sees. In a world without windows that open, cold, to the soul, the street is the only stage, and walking it means offering yourself to the judgment of others. Your clothing must be neat, your posture controlled, and your pace neither too fast nor too slow. If you are a man of status, you are expected to carry yourself with dignity, to nod at acquaintances, and to avoid displays of emotion or weakness. If you are a woman, you walk only when needed, wrapped in your Himatian eyes lowered, accompanied by someone who vouches for your respectability. Otherwise, whispers follow. Every corner hides a set of watching eyes. Every stone bench hosts a few elders murmuring about who passed by, when, and with whom. A dropped object, a stumble, a misplaced word any of it may find its way into tomorrow's judgment. There is no privacy here. Even silence is examined. The noise of vendors competes with the slap of wet fish against stone slabs, the creaking of wheels, and the thump of heavy amphorae being set down or lifted again. Every shop is open to the street, its goods displayed not behind glass, but stacked in plain view loaves of bread arranged in baskets, sandals tied to hanging cords, bronze utensils laid carefully for examination. There are no signs, no price tags, only voices calling out their offers. You are expected to know the value of things, to bargain with confidence, and to accept being shouted at if you waste someone's time. A wrong look can invite insult. A slow response can bring mocking laughter. Children run through the narrow passages, their faces dirty, shouting games and bumping into legs as they pass. No one apologizes. Chickens flap wildly from alley to alley. Dogs sniff at waste piles. The smell of roasting meat mingles with sewage and sweat, creating a constant undercurrent of scent that shifts with the wind. You wipe your brow with the edge of your tunic, knowing it will only smear more dust across your skin. In the agora, the central market and civic heart of the city, the noise becomes overwhelming. Philosophers speak on low stone platforms, drawing circles in the dirt, their words rising above the crowd as students sit cross-legged nearby. Politicians argue, speakers shout, citizens vote by show of hand or by dropping pebbles in jars, all in full view. There is no place here to disappear. Your presence or your absence is noticed. Your actions become public memory, a fine for lightness, a whisper about debts, a laugh too loud. The street absorbs it all and reflects it with tenfold strength. If you are poor, your torn cloak speaks louder than your voice. If you are rich, your jewelry must be tasteful, not boastful, or the crowd will sneer behind your back. If you are foreign, every accent, every gesture is watched. If you are disabled or disfigured, there is no hiding. Stares follow you. Pity is rare. Laughter is not. The streets of ancient Greece do not allow you to be anonymous. You are always seen, always heard, even in silence. And if you are unlucky enough to commit a crime or cause offense, your punishment may be displayed here. Two stocks in the public square, a shaved head, a placard hung around your neck, your shame made into spectacle. You may be spat on, you may be mocked, and you will be remembered. There are no walls thick enough to protect your dignity once lost on these roads. You walk home slower now, the heat rising from the stones into your legs, your ears still ringing from the noise, your eyes stinging from the dust. Your sandals are worn thin, your mouth is dry, and your heart is tired not from distance, but from being seen so thoroughly, so constantly, by a world that never blinks. Sleep now, where your streets are quiet, your steps unnoticed, your name unspoken by strangers. In ancient Greece, the street was not a path, it was a stage, and you wouldn't last a day under its gaze. Justice in ancient Greece did not come quietly, nor with the slow rhythm of official letters and quiet courthouses. It arrives swiftly, openly, and often loudly. Spoken not in hushed tones by lawyers, but shouted in the public square by neighbors, merchants, and sometimes enemies. There are no private hearings, no protective rights, and no long delays. If someone accuses you of theft, debt, slander, or even something more serious, your life can shift in a moment. The legal system is not handled by trained judges or robes, cur of quiet authority. It belongs to the people, and the people are many, watching, speaking, and deciding. You may find yourself summoned by a herald, a man with a strong voice, shouting your name in the agora for all to hear. There is no secrecy. Everyone knows. Everyone stops what they are doing. A trial in Athens, for instance, is a civic event, held not behind walls, but in open-air courts or large assembly rooms, where hundreds of men-ordinary citizens served as the jury. Their numbers can reach 500 or more, and they sit close together, their voices murmuring as you step forward, heart pounding. There are no lawyers to defend you, no one to speak on your behalf unless you are wealthy enough to hire a speechwriter. Even then, you must memorize the words and deliver them yourself. Your hands may tremble, your voice may crack. But the jury does not care for your nerves. They care for your clarity, your argument, your presence. You are given a set amount of time, measured not by clocks but by a water timer called a clepsydra, thin-necked clay jar slowly emptying drop by drop. When it runs dry, your time is over, whether you are finished or not. Your opponent, perhaps a former friend, a neighbor, or someone who envies, you takes the stand next, speaking with passion, sometimes exaggeration, and lies. There is no cross-examination, only the hope that the jury believes you more. The jury does not take hours to deliberate. There is no judge to oversee fairness. After the speech's end, the jurors vote by placing bronze discs into urns, one for conviction, one for acquittal. You may not see their faces, you may not hear their words, but in moments your fate is sealed. The verdict is announced aloud. If guilty, punishment follows immediately. There is no appeal. For theft or assault, you may pay a fine, lose property, or suffer public shaming. For perjury or false witness, you may be barred from public life forever. For more serious charges, impiety, treason, murder, the sentence may be death. It could be carried out that same day. Execution is not ceremonial. It is by hemlock, a bitter drink that paralyzes slowly, beginning in the legs, creeping up the spine, numbing the breath. You sit quietly as it takes hold, your friends if allowed beside you, their words fading as the poison silences your lungs. Even in less severe cases, the process is traumatic. You walk home after acquittal with knees shaking, not from relief, but from exhaustion. You must still live among those who watched. Your name has been spoken aloud too many times. Your story now belongs to the city. If you are a foreigner, justice comes harder. Your rights are fewer, your allies scarce. If you are a woman, you cannot testify directly. Your voice is not admissible. A man must speak for you, even if he does not understand your suffering. Slaves may only testify under torture, their words extracted by pain, their bodies beaten for the truth. If you are poor, you fear every accusation. If you are rich, you fear every rival. The law protects only those who know how to wield it, and even then, not always. There are no police in the way you understand them. Instead, city slaves patrol the agora with sticks, managing the crowds and maintaining order. If you resist, they strike. If you flee, you are chased. If you lie, you are humiliated. There is no paperwork, only memory. There are no second chances, only consequences. And when the day ends, the trial fades from record, held only in the minds of those who watched. Tomorrow, someone else will stand where you stood. Someone else will tremble. Someone else will drink from the same cup or pay the same coin. You return to your home, not sure if justice was served, but only sure that you survived. Sleep now. Where courts are silent, lawyers speak softly, and trials take months. In ancient Greece, justice was fast, unforgiving, and public. You wouldn't last a day defending your name beneath their sun. There is no soft whistle to wake you, no gentle call to rise with the sun, just the bark of a voice, sharp and cold, echoing off the stone walls of the training yard as your eyes open before your body is ready. You are not lying on a bed. You are on straw, in a communal barrack, shoulder to shoulder with boys your age or older, none of whom slept soundly. Your muscles are sore before the day begins, and your legs already ache from the drills of yesterday. In ancient Greece, especially in Sparta, but also in parts of Athens and Thebes, military training was not a path, it was a life. From childhood, boys are pulled from their homes and shaped by iron rules, daily bruises, and a constant demand for silence and obedience. You rise quickly. There is no time to stretch or speak. You are not permitted idle words. Your tunic is already damp with the sweat of the night, and the cool morning air makes your skin prickle. The ground beneath your feet is hard-packed dirt. There are no boots, only thin sandals, and even those are not always allowed. The first command is to run, not a jog, not a warm-up, but a hard, chest-tightening sprint around the courtyard, barefoot, your arms held close, your breath forced through clenched teeth. If you slow down, you are struck with a cane. If you speak, you are punished. You run until your vision dims and your stomach knots. There is no praise when you finish, only the next order. Push-ups in the dust, wrestling in pairs, holding a stone above your head until your arms tremble. There are no water breaks, no shaded rests. You drink when allowed. Rest only when the trainer gives you leave. Pain is the language of this place. Correction is physical. A mistake is met with a slap across the face, or worse. You are taught not to flinch. To flinch is a shame. The instructors shout constantly not just commands, but insults meant to strip you of softness. If you cry, the others see it. If you fall, you rise fast, or you are helped to your feet not with kindness, but with anger. Training weapons are made of wood, heavier than bronze, meant to build strength through pain. You swing them until your shoulders scream. You block until your wrists swell. There are no helmets, no padding, no protection. Bruises are expected. Blood is common. You are taught formation, how to stand shoulder to shoulder with your comrades, shield to shield, your feet rooted, your eyes straight. You march in rhythm. You drill under the sun until your tunic clings to your back and the dust of the yard coats your teeth. There are no smiles, no songs. The only sound is the shouting of the instructor and the slap of sandals against stone. At midday you are given a meager portion of bread and broth, barely enough to fill the hollow carved by exertion. Deweyed sitting on the ground, legs crossed, back straight. There is no conversation. Talking is discouraged. Laughter is punished. Food is a task. Once finished, you return to drills, javelin throwing, shield lifting, footwork across uneven stones. You repeat motions until your body moves by memory alone. Discipline is everything. You sleep beside the same boys you train with. You fight them. You sweat beside them. You are taught to trust them in war, but never to love them too closely. Bonds are forged in silence. Emotion is weakness. In Sparta, boys are taught to steal food, but to do so without getting caught. If caught, they are beaten, not for theft, but for failure. Cleverness is prized, but always within obedience. If a boy dies in training, there is no grand mourning, only a note that he was not strong enough. You wonder how long you will last. Your fingers are blistered from gripping the spear. Your knees are scraped from falling. Your voice is hoarse from shouting responses in unison. There is no end date, no graduation. Training is not a stage, it is a condition of life until you are sent to fight. And when you are sent, you are expected to return with your shield, or upon it. Surrender is dishonor. You are not taught to survive. You are taught to stand. Sleep now, where your mornings are slow, your trainers kind, your wars distant. In ancient Greece, military training was not a sport. It was a test of body and will. Every day, from youth until death. Q wouldn't last an hour, let alone a day. As the sun begins to dip and the harsh light of day softens into the golden tones of late afternoon, you might expect comfort, a proper meal, perhaps some rest. But in ancient Greece, particularly among men of standing, the evening brings a new kind of ritual, not a feast of satisfaction, but a gathering of formality and performance called the symposium. This is not a dinner party in the way you might imagine it, with laughter and generous plates of food. It is more of a carefully structured event where the body is fed little and the mind is pushed into performance, where status is affirmed through cinematic, posture, conversation, and restraint. You do not sit at a table. You recline on a couch, propped on your elbow, uncomfortable from the start. The wooden frame beneath you reminding you with every shift that comfort is not the goal here. The room is dimly lit with flickering oil lamps. The air thick with the scent of smoke and sweat, and you are surrounded by other men, most older, each holding a shallow cup of wine diluted with water. The wine is not for pleasure. It is part of a strict progression, measured, controlled, served at regular intervals by slaves who move silently through the room, careful not to draw attention. You do not serve yourself. You wait, and when your cup is filled, you drink only as much as is acceptable, not too fast, not too slow. Drunkenness is tolerated only in degrees, and the art lies in appearing thoughtful and engaged, not foolish. Food is sparsome bread, a few olives, maybe fish or cheese if the host is generous. But you do not come here to eat. The food is mostly to line your stomach against the slow build of wine. Your hunger must wait. The conversation begins formally, perhaps with a poem recited from memory, or a debate over the nature of courage, love, or truth. You are expected to speak, but carefully, with wit, and always with deference to those more senior. Silence marks you as dull, but overconfidence will turn the group against you. Every word is a test. You listen to older men talk for hours, voices droning on about Homeric ideals, city laws, or the behavior of other guests at other symposia. Their stories are long, their opinions firm, and interrupting is not allowed. You shift your weight on the couch again, trying not to show your discomfort. The wine continues. The topics become looser. The men begin to laugh more loudly, but still there is order. Music may follow, a flute played softly by a hired performer, or a song sung in praise of Dionysus, the god of wine. You do not dance, that would be unseemly unless the mood fully turns. Some symposia bring in dancer slaves trained for display, but they perform, not you. You remain seated, watching, reacting, performing your quiet role. If a guest grows too drunk, others notice he may be mocked or gently pushed aside. Moderation is praised. Sobriety is rare, but foolishness is worse. Your stomach growls. The bread has long been eaten. The olives are gone. You sip more wine, now more bitter than before, and your head begins to feel slow. Still, the conversation continues, drifting into arguments, laughter, and sometimes sharp words cloaked in a philosophical tone. You are tired, but you cannot leave early. To do so would be rude, and a guest does not insult their host. You must stay, nodding, smiling, occasionally quoting something memorized long ago to show your learning. You do not truly relax. You perform, as the evening stretches into night. The room grows warmer. The lamps burn lower. The air thickens. One man begins to sing again, his voice cracking. Another tells a story from the war. A third discusses love in abstract, long-winded metaphors. You are no longer sure what time it is. Your throat is dry. You wonder if the night will end at all. Eventually, the group begins to thin. The older men grow quiet. The wine runs low. You are permitted to rise. Your legs are numb from reclining too long. You step carefully around the half-sleeping bodies of those who drank too quickly. You say your thanks, perform your farewells, and slip into the night, your mind buzzing with fatigue, your stomach still empty. This was not a celebration. It was a ritual dance of intellect and endurance beneath the smoke-stained ceiling of an elite Greek house. You return home in silence, hungry, half-dizzy, wondering what you said and whether it was enough to be remembered or forgotten. Sleep now, with your meals full, your chairs soft, your conversations easy. In ancient Greece, dining was not about nourishment. It was about control, image, and endurance. You wouldn't last a single evening reclining among their words. Night in ancient Greece does not bring the hush you expect. It does not wrap the world in silence or give you a room of your own where you might undress in private, lie on a soft mattress, and drift into undisturbed sleep. Instead, the night is communal, creaking, and uncomfortable, shared with family, servants, strangers, or animals, depending on where you live and how much you own. You are not stepping into a quiet bedroom filled with lamplight and folded blankets. You are entering a dark chamber where the walls are thin, or perhaps made of clay and straw, where the windows are just shutters, and the air smells of dust, sweat, and old wood. The floor beneath your feet groans with every step, and there are no slippers to cushion the sound. You walk carefully, trying not to wake anyone else in the house. But someone stirs anyway, perhaps a child, perhaps an old man who sleeps lightly. There is no hallway to separate the rooms, no door to close, no knob to turn. Curtains hang in some places, thin and half-torn, but they do not keep sound out or warmth in. If you are staying in a modest urban home, you may be lucky enough to sleep on a woven mat or thin straw pallet with a coarse wool blanket pulled over your shoulders, your knees curled against the cold that seeps in through the open gaps of the door. Griff. If you are in a rural home, your bed might be shared with siblings, cousins, or fellow workers laid side by side like bundled logs. Arms pressed together, feet tangled under one rough cloth. You are not given your own space. You are not even is given silence. The old woman in the corner snores softly. The baby across the room coughs now and again. A rat scurries along the ceiling beam. Somewhere outside a dog howls, answered by another in the distance. You hear footsteps from the upper level. Heavy and slow, likely the master of the house pacing in his sleep or visiting the chamber pot. The pot, of course, is not private either. It is placed near the doorway, visible to all if you are not careful. There is no plumbing, no flushing, only a bucket to be emptied in the morning, and the faint staleness it adds to the air. You shift on your mat. Your hip presses against the hard floor beneath. You thought the straw would be softer, but it has flattened from use. There is no cushion, no feather-stuffed pillow. You roll onto your back, then your side, trying to find a way to rest. The room feels warmer than it should be, stifling from the bodies gathered within. One man mutters in his sleep. Another coughs again. The fire, if lit, is burning low, casting strange shadows that flicker across the wall. You can hear the breathing of others, some deep, some wheezing, some barely audible. It is not peaceful. It is constant. The walls creak with the wind. The roof rustles with birds or mice. If you are in the countryside, you may hear the distant sound of livestock, goats shifting in their pens, hens clucking faintly. There is no insulation. Everything comes through. You hear a neighbor's voice arguing with someone outside. You hear a clay cup fall and shatter. You hear someone relieve themselves in the dirt courtyard. If you live in a wealthier home, you may have a bed of wood with ropes beneath the mattress. But even that groans with every movement, and the mattress is stuffed with wool or hay, scratchy and uneven. You might share your room with your children, your brother, or your wife, but even in marriage, privacy is a rarity. If you're a woman, your space is still part of the house's rhythm. You rise early, even before the light touches the tiles, and you go to sleep only after all the chores are done. You are the last to lie down and the first to rise. If you're a servant or a slave, your rest is not even promised. You may be cold at any hour. Your corner of the house is narrow and cold, next to a wall or in the passage near the door, and you sleep lightly, always alert. There is no such thing as locking a door for personal time. The idea of privacy does not exist. The way you understand it, bathing is done in public or shared spaces. Dressing happens behind a thin screen, if one is available. Most people simply turn away. You are never truly alone. And when you close your eyes, even exhaustion is interrupted by sound, a cough, the whisper, the stir of limbs, the echo of sandals on stone, the distant cry of an animal, the lurch of wind against wood. It is a layered, constant song of human life stacked together under one clay roof. You might fall asleep eventually, but it is not the sleep, you know. It is restless. It is shallow. And when dawn breaks, you rise not to a gentle alarm or the chirp of birds, but to the groaning sound of others rising beside you. The smell of morning firewood, and the aching tightness in your neck from a pillow that never existed. Sleep now, in your quiet room with walls that seal the world outside. In ancient Greece, there was no privacy, no quiet, and no place of your own. Wouldn't last a single night beneath their creaking beams. You awaken not to freedom but to the sound of others already moving quiet, deliberate footsteps of people who are not family, not guests, but permanent fixtures in the house, seen daily yet rarely acknowledged, whose labor begins before your eyes even open. In ancient Greece, slavery was not a distant injustice or an uncomfortable memory from history books. It is a present, a woven element of daily life, accepted, integrated, and expected in nearly every household above the poorest class. Slaves are everywhere, in homes, in workshops, on farms, in temples. In shipsand, their presence is constant, their work invisible unless it falters. You do not ask whether someone is a slave, you assume it. The man pouring your water, woman grinding your grain, the boy holding your horse, they are property, not workers. They do not speak unless spoken to. They do not sit unless permitted. You are not one of them, but you live among them, walk past them, command them without guilt. Because guilt is a concept your society has not yet invented in this regard. If you are a guest in a Greek home, you will see them standing in corners, eyes downcast, their movements quick but careful. If one breaks a dish, the reaction is swift, a slap, a rebuke, or worse. Discipline is accepted, even expected, and no, bar law protects them from it. They may be born into slavery or captured in war, sold by desperate parents or seized by pirates. Their origins are not discussed. Their stories are not written. They belong to others now. As you sit to eat, your bread is cut by a slave. Your wine is poured by another. You do not thank them. You do not learn their names. They move around you like wind through trees, always present, never invited. Some are trusted with money, given roles in managing estates or shops, but their status never changes. They are still slaves. Others toil in fields from dawn to dusk, their hands cracked, their backs bent, living in bare shelters with no possessions of their own. You visit a farm and see them there, plowing, carrying, harvesting under the eye of a hired foreman. They do not stop when you pass. They do not look up. The chain is not always physical, but it is always there. If you are a woman in this world, your life is likewise shaped by slavery. Then the nurse who helped raise you, the maids who clean your garments, the girl who holds the baby while you cook, all are slaves. If you are poor, you might own only one. If rich, dozens. In Athens, even moderate households keep 3 to 5 slaves, at least, for labor, for errands, for appearances. It is not considered cruel. It is considered necessary. You walk the city streets and see them everywhere running messages, carrying water jars, sweeping stoops, hauling supplies to market, stalls. They wear simple tunics, often undyed, often frayed, their feet are calloused. Their skin is darkened by the sun and labor. Hear stories of those who tried to ransom, caught and branded, others never seen again. The punishment for rebellion is harsh, for it threatens the order. In Sparta, Helatstaton serfs are watched with suspicion and suppressed, through fear, their labor feeding the warrior class. In Athens, some slaves are allowed to live apart, work trades, and buy their freedom, but these are rare exceptions. For most, the status is permanent. You cannot imagine living like this, not only without rights, but without voice, without self. And yet, you are also expected to live beside it, unquestioning. You share your days with them, your home with them, but not your freedom. The ethical debate, the moral onesit, does not exist in this age. Philosophy, art, democracy flourish atop this silent foundation. Even Socrates, Even Plato accepts the institution as normal. Steer. There are no marches for freedom, no abolition movements. The society is blind to what you cannot unsee, and if you protest, if you say the word wrong, you will be met with confusion, not anger. Why should a plow speak? Why should a vessel have one pinion? That is how they are seen. The idea of humanity is reserved for citizens, for free men. You return to your mat at night, the same slave bringing your oil lamp, the same slave setting your sandals aside. You cannot shake their gaze downturned, weary, resigned. You want to ask them their name, but you don't. You want to thank them, but no one else does. You lie in the dark, full from food they prepared, clean from water they carried, wrapped in a cloth they mended. Their breath is silent in the corridor. Their life is not yours. Sleep now, in your world where freedom is assumed and injustice questioned. In ancient Greece, slavery was the bedrock, comfort, the invisible scaffolding of society. You wouldn't last a day surrounded by silent eyes that labor without rest, without hope and end. In ancient Greece, beauty was not merely a matter of personal pride, was an unrelenting duty, a public expectation, a subtle but ever-present performance of worth, especially for women, and in many ways for men as well. If you believe your modern skincare routine, gym schedule, or makeup kit is demanding, then you have not stepped into the crushing rituals of Greek aesthetics, where what is beautiful is never effortless, and what is effortless is never admired. You awaken before dawn, not to wash and glow, but to oil your skin, rub in thick, sticky salves made from animal fat, olive oil, beeswax, or powdered minerals. This is not about softness, it is about sheen. To glisten like the statues, to reflect the firelight as your body moves through the day. Your face is scrubbed with powders made from chalk or crushed shells, applied with rough cloths. There are no soft cotton pads. There is no privacy, no vanity table. You squat near a ceramic bowl or beside a shared well, and the work begins. For women, pale skin is the ideal, a symbol of class, of being indoors, away from the laboring sun. But your skin is flushed from heat and streaked with dust. You apply white lead, toxic, though no one yet knows it, and mix it with vinegar to coat your cheeks, nose, and forehead. The smell is sharp. The texture is gritty. It does not sit smoothly. It cracks. It peels. But it is necessary. Unibrows are fashionable, not natural ones. No, that would be too easy. They must be curated, connected with powdered charcoal or goat hair pasted into place. You sit still while your your wealthy presses the line across your brow with a careful hand. A single straight arc above the eyes is considered divine, inspired by the goddesses. If your eyebrows are fair, you darken them. If they are thick, you shape them. You must look natural, but only according to the artificial rules. For the lips, red ochre is used, or ground clay. There are no lipsticks, no bombs, just powders mixed with animal fat and rubbed in with fingers. It tastes of earth. The teeth are not whitened. They are often hidden. A woman who smiles too freely may be considered loose or vulgar. But the eyes must be wide, the lashes dark, and the expression soft. You are to appear demure yet brilliant, innocent yet seductive, silent yet striking. The contradiction is constant. For men, beauty is another form of discipline. Muscles are admired, but not bulk. The ideal body is lean, symmetrical, shaped by athletics and bathing, not by diet or lifting. You do not sculpt yourself in a gym, you exercise in the palestra. Outdoors, oiled and naked, under the judgmental eyes of others. Your skin is rubbed with dust after oil, a method to both exfoliate and show your effort. You do not grow a beard unless age or role requires it. A clean face, a firm jaw, strong thighs, and straight posture are key. But you do not show off. Vanity is frowned upon, lest you deny it while living in it. Hair is a constant concern. Long for women, often curled or braided with ribbons, sometimes dyed with herbs or mud. Short for slaves, of course, and sometimes for mourning. A woman may spend hours each day arranging her hair to appear as though she had done nothing at all. There are no mirrors, only polished metal. You see a wavy reflection of yourself, never clear, never complete, and adjust accordingly. You do not have the tools you're used to. You heat curling rods in the fire. You rub crushed berries on your cheeks. You rinse your hair with vinegar. The smell lingers. The process never ends. For the body, smell is both natural and judged. UK, where perfumes made from myrrh or frankincense, soaked into linen or rubbed behind the ears, but they are expensive. If you are poor, you make do with washing alone, which is never enough. Bathing is not daily. It depends on water access, social role, and ritual. For women, especially unmarried ones, being seen as dirty is shameful. For men, particularly athletes, dirt is a bajantil. It is washed away ceremonially. Nails are cleaned with knives. Skin is scraped with sigils. There are no razors, as you know. Them blades are primitive, and shaving is rough, painful, and often incomplete. Women remove body hair with stones or pluck it by hand. There is no comfort in this grooming, only the demand. Feet are scrubbed with pumice. Ankles are powdered. Every inch of you is a canvas, but it is judged against marble statues, gods with perfect symmetry and no flaws. You can never be enough. You are always becoming, always correcting, always reaching for something you were told is natural but requires endless effort. Even at a symposium, you are watched. Even at the market, you are seen. You are compared to ideals drawn in red figure pottery, painted on vases, and sung about in verse. But those ideals are not real. They are frozen. You are sweating. Your back aches. The unibrow smudges, and the makeup fades. You see yourself again in a polished bronze plate. You try again, and again. There is no end. Sleep now in your world of clean mirrors, quiet salons, and soft creams. In ancient Greece, beauty was not a pleasure. It is a performance. You wouldn't last a day wearing a god's face made from chalk, sweat, and silence taught in ancient Greece. Illness was not a private matter to be solved quietly, with pills and warm soup. It was a public ordeal. A slow surrender of the body to remedies as old as myth and nearly as cruel. You do not call a doctor who arrives with a leather bag and digital devices. You send for a physician trained in humors, observation, and guesswork. He arrives on foot, often in worn sandals, carrying scrolls, knives, and herbs in small pouches, tied to his belt. He does not sanitize his hands, for he does not know germs. He believes in imbalance. Too much blood, too little bile, too much phlegm. You are not, just sick. You are misaligned with the elements of the cosmos. Your stomach pain may be treated with wine boiled with rue or onion. Your fever may be cooled with vinegar baths or, in worse cases, bloodletting. If your body shakes, or your mind clouds, they may think it a visitation from the gods or an evil wind trapped in your skull. You do not receive antibiotics. You receive leeches. They are placed on your skin in shallow bowls, their tiny mouths latching on with ancient instinct, pulling at your flesh until you are dizzy and pale. You are told this is healing. You lie on a wooden bed, legs twitching, face damp, while someone murmurs a prayer to Asclepius or places a charm of feathers and bronze under your pillow. There are no sterile instruments. The knife used to drain your boil was used yesterday on someone else's wound. There is no boiling water, no gloves, and no antiseptic. There is only oil and smoke and fingers. The doctor may tell you to change your diet, to avoid lentils, or to drink goat milk mixed with crushed mint. He may warn you against eating figs. He may say that Saturn is descending or that your sleep has been too shallow. Women suffer differently. Childbirth is not a hospital visit. It is a gamble, a ritual, and sometimes a death sentence. You labor in a corner of the home, surrounded by midwives who chant and rub your belly with olive oil. If the baby is stuck, there are no forceps. If the bleeding starts, there is no transfusion. If your cries turn silent, it is understood. Women die often, infants even more so. The gods are invoked, offerings are made. But nature is merciless. You recover slowly, if at all. There is no postpartum care, no rest, no privacy. You return to your chores, your duties, the smell of crushed herbs and burned garlic still lingering on your clothes. For wounds, there is no stitching with finesse. A deep gash is bound with linen soaked in wine. It stings. Infection is common. Limbs are lost. For broken bones, splints are carved from sticks. If they must amputate, they do it with no anesthesia. You are held down, you scream, you bite a stick, you pass out. The pain lives on. For the mind, there is no therapy. Melancholy is considered an excess of black bile. Madness is divine punishment. You are taken to a temple, left to sleep beside the sacred snake of Asclepius, hoping a dream will deliver the cure. Priests walk among the ill, whispering, touching foreheads. You are not examined, you are interpreted. The gods are consulted more often than the body. Sickness is not your fault, but it is yours to bear. Medicine is expensive if you're poor, experimental if you're rich. The best physicians train in Alexandria, in Corinth, in Athens. But even they guess more than they know. Theories shift like the wind. You might be bled for a cough, asterisk. You might be given ashes for a rash. You might be buried in cold sand for a fever. Some patients survive, others do not. If you are old, your aches are ignored. If you are a slave, your pain is managed only if it affects your work. If you are a child, remedies are milder but no more reliable. Remedies include garlic necklaces, amulets carved with lunar symbols, or bitter tea brewed from unknown leaves. You drink it because you must. You do not ask for results, you hope. Hospitals do not exist. There are healing centers. Yes, but they are often religious, full of chanting, sinsons and faint hope. Recovery is either divine or natural. Intervention is basic. Time is everything. If your tooth aches, it is pulled. If your eye clouds, it is covered. If your breath wheezes, you are left to rest and pray. Death is not a stranger. It visits often, especially in winter or after a battle. Doctors can do little. They promise comfort, not salvation. Your body is seen as a vessel of elements, not a system of organs. There are no mysteries, no charts, no certainty. There is touch, smell, and observation. The color of your urine, the warmth of your skin, the sound of your breath, these are the tools. Close your eyes and listen to the whispers. Feel the cloth against your chest. Smell the wine and ash and sour milk. You try to sleep through the pain, through the fear, through the silence of helplessness. There are no pills. There are no guarantees. Just stars above, cold air, and a bowl of leeches waiting for the next sunrise. Sleep now in your modern world of care and clarity. In ancient Greece, medicine was ritual, pain was constant, and healing was often a matter of faith. You wouldn't last a day beneath the blade of a godless curse. You might think dinner is a moment of relaxation, a quiet time with utensils clinking and aromas rising gently from warm plates. But in ancient Greece, eating is a whole-body experience, physical, and bound by strange etiquette that often makes the body uneasy. You do not sit at a table with a plate and fork. You recline on a low couch if you are male and invited to a proper symposium. If you are a woman, you likely serve or eat elsewhere in silence, perhaps in the corner, if allowed at all. There are no chairs with backs, no matching sets of dishes, no cushioned comfort. You lie on your left side, balancing your torso on one elbow while your right hand serves as your only eating tool. This position grows uncomfortable quickly. Your elbow aches, your back stiffens, your neck tilts awkwardly, but you cannot shift too often, it would seem undignified. Food is served communally. There is no personal portioning. Large clay dishes are placed in the middle of the room, and everyone reaches in. Bread is used like a spoon. You scoop sauces and oils with it, dip it into broths, and use it to pick up morsels of fish or lentils. When bread is not available, you use your fingers, making sure not to drop too much. There are no napkins. You wipe your hands on a rough cloth, or, in poorer homes, simply on your thighs. Meals are simple yet demanding on the stomach. Breakfast might consist of barley cakes and figs, dry and chewy. Lunch is light, perhaps olives and cheese. Dinner is more elaborate, but still sparse by modern standards: boiled greens, lentil stew, fish grilled over ash. Meat is rare and sacred. When it does appear, it is part of a religious sacrifice, and the choicest cuts go to the gods. The rest is divided among the attendees, often in uneven slices. You may be left with sinew or bone. There are no desserts, beyond fruit or honeyed cakes, and those are reserved for celebrations. Q. Do not drink clean filtered water from a glass. Instead, water is drawn from a clay jar, mixed with wine to kill the taste of algae or rot. Wine is always diluted. Drinking it straight is seen as barbaric, but the ratio varies, and sometimes the mix is too strong or too sour. You sip it from a kylix, a shallow, wide cup with handles, awkward to hold and easy to spill. You try not to stain your chitin. If you are poor, your food is even more basic: boiled grains, wild onions, perhaps a few anchovies, salted beyond flavor. You eat on the floor, using broken shards of pottery as plates. If you are a traveler or a guest, your presence changes. The flow of the meal. Hospitality is sacred, but the discomfort remains. You are offered the best morsels, but only after others have touched, sorted, and commented on them. There are no serving spoons, no sanitizers. Your hands grow sticky from honey, your nails filled with crumbs. Conversation is expected during meals, especially among men. But not all talk is casual. Philosophy, politics, and poetry blend with burps and slurps. If someone coughs or sneezes, there are no tissues. A sleeve will do. You glance at the floor. There is no tile, no rugs, just packed earth or stone. Insects roam, dogs bark nearby. Flies land on the dishes. The room is dim, lit by oil lamps or torches that flicker smoke into your eyes. The air smells of oil, ash, garlic, and sweat. Food is not refrigerated. Fish goes bad quickly. Cheese molds. Bread grows hard. You eat it anyway. Hunger outweighs taste. There are no leftovers stored in fridges. What's not eaten is fed to animals or tossed. If you are ill or of weak constitution, the food can make you worse. Intestinal sickness is common. Herbs are used, but sparingly. Salt is a luxury. Butter is unknown. Olive oil covers everything, from vegetables to your hands. After the meal, you do not wash with soap. There is none. You rinse in cold water or wipe off with a damp cloth. Your stomach groans from unfamiliar combinations. Your back is sore from reclining. Your fingers are greasy. But this is a feast, a joy. You are expected to be grateful. And if you stay late, the symposium begins. More wine, more talk, more reclining. Your body begs to stretch. Your eyelids grow heavy, but the evening continues. In noble homes, music follows. Aloes players fill the space with sharp tones, dancers perform, and the wine keeps flowing. Few are expected to keep pace. But there are no breaks, no time to yourself, no polite exit. Only the long hours of eating, drinking, and pretending to enjoy what your body quietly resents. If you are not used to it, your back will cramp, your head will ache, and the food will sit heavily in your gut. Sleep now, in your modern kitchen where clean forks rest on folded napkins. Your meal portioned, your glass clear, your seat padded. In ancient Greece, dining was ritual, discomfort, and community tangled together in the shadow of smoky lamps and oiled hands. You wouldn't last a day eating with elbows bent, fingers slick, and nothing but olives for relief. Childhood in ancient Greece is not the gentle season of warmth and play that modern minds often romanticize, is a brief, uncertain passage between helpless infancy and harsh responsibility, where the measure of a child is not joy but discipline, not comfort but preparation for a role that society has already decided. You are born not in a sterile room with quiet lighting and soft blankets, but in the noisy quarters of your family home. Among clay walls, coarse cloth, and the midwife's practiced hands. If you are male, your father inspects you for strength, straight limbs, a full cry, a healthy color. If you are weak or malformed, you may be abandoned, exposed to the elements. If female, your survival depends not on your body, but on your family's means. Daughters are expensive marriage dowries. No inheritance, little public role, and a poor household might offer you to the gods before the first sunrise. If you survive, your infancy is wrapped in wool and sleep, bound in tight swaddling, and kept close to the hearth. Your mother nurses you, but not for long. Wet nurses may take over, especially in noble homes. Debt. There are no diapers, no pacifiers, no soft lullabies. Cries are common. Comfort is not. You are weaned early and fed soft bread soaked in wine, goat milk or gruel made from barley. You may be allowed a small clay rattle or a carved toy animal, but there are no shelves of colorful amusements. Play is not for amusement, it is training. You mimic grown-ups, practice wrestling with siblings, or throw stones at targets. There are no cartoons, no music boxes, no plush blankets to drag behind you. You are watched, measured, and corrected. Boys are told to be tough. Girls are taught to be silent. By age 7, your life begins to diverge sharply based on your sex. If you are a boy, your father hands you over to a pedagogue, an older slave who escorts you daily to your lessons. There are no school bells or backpacks, just a wooden writing tablet, a stylus, and a worn cloak. You sit on a stone bench in an open courtyard or shaded room, listening to the voice of the grammatists, who recites Homer, Plato, or Hesiod. You learn not just to read, but to recite. Memorization is everything. You speak in rhythm. You listen in silence. If you fidget, you are struck with a stick. If you answer poorly, your ears are pulled. School is not fun. It is a duty. You study grammar, music, and gymnastics. Music is taught with a lyre, even if your fingers bleed. Gymnastics takes place in the dust and sun, where you run barefoot, wrestle, and leap under the watchful eyes of harsh instructors. You are not praised. You are told to improve. At home, your evenings are filled with chores or copying verses. There are no bedtime stories, only moral tales, parables of obedience and fate. You sleep early on a hard mat, often sharing space with siblings or servants. If you are a girl, you stay within the home, hidden from the outside world. Your mother, grandmother, or a female slave teaches you spinning, weaving, cooking, and child-rearing. You may never learn to read. Your mind is shaped not for questions but for compliance. Dolls are made from rags or clay, with painted eyes and simple limbs. You care for them as you will one day care for real infants. Your games involve make-believe weddings, cleaning, or gathering imaginary water. Asterisk, asterisk, there is little room for laughter. Girls are taught to be quiet, graceful, and invisible. Puberty comes early. For boys, it means harder training, longer lessons, and the looming reality of citizenship or military service. For girls, it often means betrothal. You may be married by age 14. You do not choose. You are given. Your husband may be twice your age. You must bear sons, manage the household, and remain loyal. Your voice matters little. Before this, you offer your childhood toys to Artemis, asterisk, the goddess of the maiden. This symbolic gesture marks the end of girlhood. It comes quietly, with a prayer, and then life moves forward without pause. Illness is common. There are no vaccines, no antibiotics. Fever, cough, or stomach pains can quickly become fatal. Healing depends on herbs, divine favor, or natural luck. You may recover, you may not. No child is guaranteed survival. If you cry at night, you are hushed, not coddled. If you disobey, you are corrected sharply. There are no psychologists, no gentle discussions. Love is present, but not always visible. Fathers rarely show it. Mothers show it through food, clothing, or stories of gods who punish those who stray. The gods are always watching. You are told this from the start. Every action has consequences. Even laughter must be modest. Even joy must be earned. When you visit the temple, you see statues towering over you, stern, idealized, perfect. You are reminded you are small, imperfect, and in training. You must grow into something the city can use. The city-state, your policies, everything. Your body belongs to it. Your future is for it. Your feelings are private and unnecessary. You learn this early. So sleep now, child of the present, wrapped in soft pajamas, under a warm blanket, beside glowing lights and bedtime songs. In ancient Greece, there was little softness, little room for tears. Childhood was not a safe beginning. It was a test, a task, and a quiet, endless preparation. You wouldn't last a day growing up with no hugs, no cartoons, and no room to just be. Justice in ancient Greece was not the slow, polished affair of robed judges and silent courtrooms. It was loud, chaotic, and built less on evidence than persuasion, social standing, and the loudest voice in the room. There are no lawyers, no trained attorneys in dark suits presenting their client's case in calm, persuasive tones. Instead, you must speak for yourself. No matter your education or nerves, whether innocent or guilty, you must rise before hundreds of fellow citizens, up to 500, sometimes 1,000 men with stones in their hands, not to throw, but to vote. You are not in a formal courthouse. You are likely in an open-air space, near the agora, surrounded by a large wooden platform and a crowd that buzzes with gossip and tension. Your opponent, the one accusing you, or the one you are accusing, stands nearby, flanked by supporters, friends. Maybe even paid orators who helped him write his speech. Yes, orators exist, but they cannot speak for you. They can only compose your words in advance. If you stumble, forget, cry, or grow angry, no one steps in to help. You have a water clock called a clepsydra that slowly drips to mark your time. Once the water runs out, so does your voice. No cross-examination, no legal procedure to object. Just your story versus his. If you are a woman, you do not speak. You are not allowed. If your case is heard at all, Your male guardian, husband, or relative speaks for you. Your voice holds no weight. You are background, and if you are a slave, there is worse news: you may be tortured to extract testimony. The Greeks believe truth lives in pain. If your master allows it, you will be tied, whipped, or burned until your words become what the court wishes to hear. Your body becomes the scroll. Evidence: little is written. Most arguments rely on witnesses who are not sworn in but simply presented as trustworthy based on their status. They might lie, they often do, but if they are respected, they are believed. Documents can be presented sealed, wax tablets or inscriptions, but their interpretation is often up for debate. The law exists, yes, but it is not centralized. Each city-state has its system. In Athens, the dicosteria courts are made up of citizens chosen by lottery. They are paid a small fee to attend. Some are old, some are inattentive, many are biased. They may hold grudges. They may be friends with your rival. There is no judge to keep order, just the magistrate who oversees the process. If the crowd grows restless, shouting begins. If your story is weak, laughter or boos may follow. If you cry, they may see it as guilt. If you are too calm, as arrogance. Punishments are swift. There are no appeals. If found guilty, you may be fined, exiled, or executed. Execution can mean being given a cup of poison, like Socrates, or simply banishment without protection. Exile is not a journey, it is a social death. You lose rights, friends, and home. You wander. You beg. For smaller crimes, you might pay a fine, but it must be paid in full and quickly. If you are poor, that means selling land, goods, or children. Debtors' prisons do not exist, but debt slavery does. And if you refuse to pay, your property may be seized, your rights stripped, and your status reduced. For property disputes, things are no easier. Neighbors shout over boundaries. Landmarks are vague. Witnesses argue over trees, fences, and inheritance rights. If the land has been worked by your family for decades, it may still be taken by someone with more convincing rhetoric. For public crimes, bribery, theft, disrespecting the gods, the city takes action. Ostracism is one method. If enough citizens write your name on a shard of pottery, you are banished for 10 years without trial. No chance to argue, no defense. Just the will of the people, scratched in ink on broken pots. In Sparta, justice is stricter. Theft is punished by flogging, but only if you are caught. Discipline matters more than fairness. Obedience is valued over truth. There are fewer trials. Justice is swift, often brutal, and slaves. They are property. Their pain counts for little. If you are a foreigner, justice becomes guesswork. You have no citizenship, few protections. If wronged, you must plead before local magistrates who may not care. If accused, your accent alone may condemn you. Children are tried differently, but not gently. Boys may be punished with whips or exile from their schools. Girls may face arranged punishment or be sent into isolation. There is little room for redemption. And there is no concept of rehabilitation or restitution, revenge, or removal. There are no prisons as institutions. There are holding cells. Yes, dark, small, dirty, but long-term imprisonment is rare. Why feed a criminal when exile or execution is quicker? Political trials are common. Rivals use courts to destroy each other. Accusations are sometimes true, but often tactical. Philosophers, playwrights, and generals all stand trial. They may be exiled for questioning tradition, for praising foreign gods, or simply for being too clever. The crowd does not care for nuance. It cares for spectacle, closure, and vengeance. There is no calm, no private deliberation. Just stones dropped into jars, one for innocence. You count them afterward. Heart pounding, breath shallow. The verdict is final. The moment is public. There are no appeals, no quiet, backroom settlements. Justice is loud, and you stand with sweat on your back, dust on your sandals, your life hanging on the murmur of men in tunics holding pebbles. So rest now in your peaceful world of defense attorneys, clean courtrooms, and balanced procedures. In ancient Greece, justice was not blind, it was emotional, loud, unpredictable, and unforgiving. You wouldn't last a day on trial without a lawyer, a judge, or a fair chance to be heard, as the sun begins to set over the distant Aegean hills. The final hours of your imaginary day in ancient Greece stretch before you like the last light. God. On a dusty road, the air cools slightly, but your skin is still sticky from the day's salt, sweat, and ash. There is no shower to wash it away, no gentle stream of warm water to soothe your aching body. You may splash yourself with cold water, from a basin, or pour a clay jar over your head. Soap, as you know it, does not exist only rough pastes made from sand, oil, or ashes that scrape instead of cleanse. If you are lucky, someone rubs you down with olive oil and scrapes it away with a strigil, a curved blade that pulls dirt and skin from your limbs, but not the fatigue from your muscles. You ache from poor posture, from hard surfaces, from long walks without shoes that fit. You look at your feet, dust-covered, calloused, your toes aching from uneven stone roads and the weight of walking. Always walking, with no carts or quiet taxis to carry you. The evening meal arrives, not with warmth or variety, but with more of the same flatbread, lentils, dried fish, bitter greens. There is no menu, no dessert unless it's a festival. You chew slowly, methodically, trying to appreciate the simplicity, but your body craves more flavor, softness, comfort. The room is darkening now. Oil lamps flicker on clay shelves. Smoke curls into your nose. The house smells of soot, garlic, and tired bodies. There is no overhead light, no electricity. Just a warm but dim glow of flame dancing on cracked plaster. You are not alone in the room. A family of many generations shares the space. Grandparents, infants, sisters, servants. There is no privacy, no walls thick enough, to hold your thoughts. If you whisper, someone hears. If you cry, someone asks why. If you want silence, you must go outside. But outside is not peaceful, it is unpredictable. Dogs roam freely. Rats scurry. Insects bite. The agora is empty, but you are told not to linger. Spirits walk at night. Strange men move in shadows. Ghosts of the unburied whisper behind temples. You retreat indoors. The bed is a wooden frame, perhaps with a straw mattress, or a floor mat. There are no pillows as you know them. Just rolled the cloth. You lie stiffly, not on soft memory foam, but on the memory of a day filled with strain. Your ears pick up everything asterisk the wind through stone alleys, the flick of a torch, someone coughing. A child is crying. You cover yourself with a woven blanket, if you have one, rough to the touch. It holds the scent of smoke and years. There is no fan. No air conditioning. You sweat or shiver depending on the season. There is no thermostat to save you. You try to sleep, but your thoughts drift. You remember the trials, the food, the smells. You remember the streets without drainage, the language you barely understood, the rituals you didn't follow correctly. You remember being stared at, judged, weighed as either a man or a woman, useful or not, slave or free. You remember not knowing where to walk, how to eat, when to speak, what to wear. Remember the absence of softness, not just in your bedding or food, but in the culture. Tenderness is rare. Even love must be stern. Fathers do not hug. Mothers do not sing lullabies. Children are corrected, not comforted. You feel the ache of constant judgment from gods and mortals alike. Every action is watched, every mistake a risk. There are no second chances, no pause, no moment to reflect, only expectations and consequences. And then, as the room quiets, you think of illness, ghee. You feel a scratch in your throat. There are no lozenges, no ibuprofen, no clean clinics. If you fall sick, you pray, you boil herbs, you sleep and hope. Death is never far. If it comes, you are burned or buried quickly. There are no morgues, no embalming, just ritual, mourning, and moving on. You lie still now, and your mind, though exhausted, refuses rest. You miss your toothbrush, your soft socks, your scented soap. You miss screens, voices, and books. You miss not having to explain yourself in every room. You miss clean water, quiet streets, and being allowed to sit without purpose. You miss your name being written, not spoken from memory. You miss having rights, not conditional privileges. And then, in your final thoughts before drifting into uneasy ancient sleep, you realize this world, while fascinating, is built on discomfort, performance, and survival. Its people are strong, but not soft, resilient, but not forgiving, brilliant, but often cruel. They invent philosophies, but ignore feelings. They build temples, but not hospitals. They praise beauty, but punish deviation. You, for all your curiosity, would not last. Not a day, not an hour, not a moment more. And as you finally surrender to sleep real sleep, in your own time, you breathe deeper. You are safe now. The sandals are gone. The oil is wiped clean. The shadows no longer whisper. You are home. You are modern. And you are grateful. Ancient Greece can rest again without you in it. When night falls in ancient Greece, it brings not peace, but a thick veil of uncertainty, superstition, and ritual, an uneasy dance between sleep and spirits. In the absence of electricity and the soft hum of modern life, the world grows not quiet but louder in its shadows. The flickering oil lamps on the walls cannot chase away the fear of what lurks beyond them. People do not trust the night. They do not believe it is empty. They believe it is watched by gods, demons, the restless dead, and the jealous forces of nature who listen when mortals grow careless. Sleep is not automatic. It must be earned. It must be protected. A sneeze in the dark could be an omen. A shadow on the wall could be a warning. You are not alone, even when the house is locked. The Greeks believed that dreams were not internal. They were messages, visitors, prophecies. Some came from the gods. Others came from spirits of the dead. Some were warnings sent by Hades himself. Before lying down, you must say your evening prayers. You must honor Hypnos, god of sleep, and his brother Thanatos, god of death. For in Greek belief, sleep and death are twins close in nature, and sometimes indistinguishable. A nap might become a final rest if the gods are offended. You wash your feet, for dirty feet insult the household gods. You do not speak aloud any dark thoughts before bedwords have power, and in the silence of night the air listens. Children squatter told bedtime stories, not of gentle animals or kind giants, but of monsters like Lamia, a child-eating demon who drinks blood and howls in the dark. Kor Impusa, who takes many forms and seduces men in their dreams, only to tear them apart. Or the Kares, spirits of violent death who linger at windows, waiting for suffering. Women wear protective amulets, phylacteries around their necks. Men place sprigs of herbs like garlic or bay leaf under their pillows to ward off evil dreams. If someone dies in the house, the door is smeared with mud. Mirrors are covered. A coin is placed on the tongue of the dead for the ferryman of the Ska underworld, Koran. If this is forgotten, the spirit may return, angry, to disturb the sleep of the living. If your sleep is broken, you do not simply turn on a light and go to the kitchen. You lie still. You whisper a prayer. You wonder, was it just a sign? Dreams are not interpreted by journals or psychologists. They are taken to temple priests, oracles, or dream interpreters, called onira critics. These men or occasionally women study symbols, listen carefully, and warn of what must be done. If you dream of a snake, it may mean healing or betrayal. A dog may mean loyalty or an approaching death. There are dream manuals, thick scrolls filled with interpretations, but they contradict one another. A good dream may turn bad by morning. The gods are fickle. One night they bless you, next they curse you. If you sleep too soundly, it may mean you are being visited by something powerful. If you speak in your sleep, someone might write your words down to interpret them. There is no privacy, not even in dreams. Certain nights are considered more dangerous. The third night after a new moon, the nights following an eclipse, nights before certain festivals like Antisteria, when the spirits of the dead walk among the living, and wine flows in mourning. During these nights, people scatter flour on the doorstep, whisper charms, burn herbs, and avoid saying names aloud. To speak the name of a dead enemy is to invite them back. To dream of one is to suspect a curse. Some healers specialize in night. Cailments, practitioners of incantations, dream catchers, and protective chants. They sell charms against night terrors, against sleeplessness, against the evil eye. Insomnia is not treated with pills. It is treated with ritual baths, fasting, or sacrifice. A sleepless person is suspected of guilt or possession. Children who cry too much at night may be thought cursed. Women who sleepwalk may be accused of touching the underworld in dreams. Men who wake with fear are told to confess to the gods. You sleep not alone, but beneath layers of belief, fear, cant myth. And when nightmares come, as they often do, you may wake gasping, unsure whether you dreamt or were visited. You drink water, perhaps wine. You whisper to the gods. You spit on the floor 3 times to ward off evil. You pray for dawn. And when it comes, you do not speak of the dream until after breakfast. To speak too soon is to make it real. You walk through the agora haunted, wondering if others saw what you did. Nightmares are not shared casually. They are omens. You carry them. You consult with seers. You visit temples where you may sleep on sacred floors, hoping for clearer dreams. This practice, called incubation, is common. In the temple of Asclepius, god of healing, people lie on a stone, hoping the god will send a vision with the cure. Sometimes he does, sometimes not. And sometimes what you see is worse than the illness itself. Are never fully rested. There is no REM, no weighted blanket, no guarantee that the night is yours. You share it with gods, spirits, dreams, and fears. You wake in the morning not refreshed but relieved to be alive, still in your bed, breathing. In ancient Greece, a nightmare might not end when you open your eyes. And as you, in your modern comfort, drift into real sleep tonight, remember, in that world, sleep was not simple. It was sacred, and deeply, deeply uneasy. Love in ancient Greece was not the thing of serenades, gentle gestures, or candlelit dinners. It is not built on emotional compatibility or the freedom to choose. It is a transaction, a performance, a dance of duty, lineage, and risk. In the stillness of a stone courtyard, where ivy climbs the walls and the shadows fall long, a young girl is told whom she will marry. Not asked. She is barely a teenager. Her father decides. Her dowry is weighed. Her suitor's status is examined. Her voice, her feelings, and her preferences are irrelevant. A man marries not for love, but for heirs and alliances. And though poetry speaks of eros desire and beauty, it is not the same as marriage. Eros is fleeting. Marriage is endurance. You, as a modern guest in this world, find yourself perplexed. Where is the spark? Where is the choice? You learn that to love someone you cannot have is not just sadit, is dangerous. To love too openly is to risk shame. To love the wrong person is to risk death. For women, especially, love is a prison. A married woman belongs to her husband, but also to the scrutiny of his family and the city. She does not go outside without a veil. She does not speak to men in the market. Her body is his, but her thoughts must be silent. If she looks too long at a neighbor, if she writes a poem, if she is suspected of desire, she may be divorced, disgraced, or worse, she cannot own land. She cannot initiate a divorce. She cannot say no, and if she is betrayed, she must endure it in silence. Men, by contrast, may love outside the home. Asterisk, they may take courtesans citiri, or are trained not only in the art of seduction, but in music, conversation, and wit. These women are not wives, but companions in a way that wives are not allowed. To be end, yet they are never secure. Their love is tolerated, not respected. If they become too beloved, too influential, they are cast aside, their letters burned, their stories untold. For men, love may also flow toward other men. The Greeks speak of male-male relationships not as deviance, but as pedagogy, as part of mentorship and honor. Older men guide younger boys, arists and eraminosin, a bond that is as much about power as affection. And while this love is sung in verse and carved in marble, it too is restricted. If it crosses into open jealousy or public scandal, it becomes shameful. Women who love women must be invisible. Their stories are fragments, whispered, erased. Sappho writes of such love, from Lesbos, in words that survive only in tattered scraps. Her passion, delicate and aching, is preserved not in celebration but in academic footnotes, cinematic. Love between equals is not the norm. Most love in ancient Greece is unbalanced. One has power, the other obeys. One speaks, the other listens. One chooses, the other is chosen. And so, heartbreak in this world is not just sorrow, it is collapse. If a young man's proposal is rejected, his family may lose honor. If a woman's husband dies and she has no sons, she may be sent back to her father's house. Ike property returned. If a courtesan is replaced, she may lose not just her patron, but her home, her safety, her name. To cry too long is indulgent. To grieve publicly is suspect. If a man grieves a woman too openly, he is mocked. If a woman grieves a man too long, she is told to remarry. The gods, too, are fickle in love. Zeus cheats endlessly. Hera burns with rage. Aphrodite causes war through jealousy. Love stories in myths are tragic, not sweet. Orpheus loses Eurydice to the underworld. Phaedra falls in love with her stepson and ends in ruin. Narcissus loves himself and dies gazing at his reflection. Helen's love, whether willing or not, destroys Troy. Love is not safe. It is a fire. It consumes, betrays, and shames. You ask yourself, where is the soft affection, the kindness, the holding of hands in the street? And you find it nowhere. Public affection is rare. There are no hugs in the agora, no whispered sweet nothings. Love is hidden, coded in glances, poetry, and risk. If you write a love poem, you must hide your name. If you send a gift, it must be anonymous. If you meet at night, it is with trembling fear. The laws of the city punish adultery not with jail. But with public shaming, a caught man may be beaten, a woman may be locked away. Honor is everything. Love is dangerous. You see now why people fear it. Why do they arrange marriages like treaties? Why do they offer to the gods before weddings? Why do they burn letters and forget names? You try to imagine living like this, loving. In silence, marrying without choice, mourning without voice. You realize how rare your love is, your ability to feel, to express, to choose. You miss it. You miss being allowed to cry, to send a text, to hold a hand. You miss songs about love, said death, end happily. You missed soft touches, warm embraces, the freedom to say I love you without fear of gods or laws. And as you close your eyes in this ancient world, surrounded by passion carved in stone but forbidden in flesh, you know this truth. You would not plus a day not, in a world where love is rare, heartbreak is public, and the heart is never safe. Religion in ancient Greece is not something you visit on a Sunday or ponder occasionally in times of crisis. It is everywhere, every day, in every action, breath, and thought. The gods are not distant. They are not abstract. They are not merely symbols of morality or wisdom. They are present, watching, jealous, and terribly human. Zeus thunders from the sky, demanding respect. Hera burns with suspicion. Poseidon stirs the seas in anger. Athena expects cleverness and strategy. Aphrodite demands devotion to beauty. To live in ancient Greece is to live under constant divine scrutiny. You do not eat without offering. You do not travel without praying. You do not build a home, marry, or start a project without first honoring the right God. There are altars in every home, on every street, in every public square. Smoke from burnt offerings rises like a signal, not of love, but of obedience. If the smoke goes straight up, it is a good sign. If it swirls oddly, it is a warning. You must interpret everything dreams, whether bird movements, strange sounds, even the way a flame dances. All of it might be a message. The gods speak in signs, not sentences, and if you misread them, you may be punished. Offer too little, and you are arrogant. Offer too much, and you are wasteful. You must be exact. Rituals are not flexible. Scripts passed down from elders, priests, and the voices of myth. To ignore them is unthinkable. Each god has a domain. Each domain has its taboos. You do not speak Poseidon's name near calm waters. You do not insult Artemis in the forest. You do not forget to thank Hermes before a journey, or Hestia before lighting a fire. Even your house fire is sacred. To let it go out without ritual is to invite chaos. In cities, temples rise above homes' massive columned structures housing stone statues believed to be the very presence of the gods themselves. Offerings are placed at their feet: fruit, wine, bread, coins, animal sacrifices. Yes, real animals, goats, bulls, pigs are led to the altar, their heads sprinkled with barley, their throats cut cleanly, their blood caught and poured as sacred libation. The smell of burning fat fills the air. It is not gruesome, it is necessary. It is how you live in harmony with Olympus. Sacrifice is not only for thanks, it is also for forgiveness. If a storm destroys crops, you must appease Demeter. If illness strikes, perhaps Apollo is angry. If a ship sinks, Poseidon must be calmed. Religion is not internal. It is public, performed, shared. Your neighbors watch how you pray. Your family reputation depends on your piety. There are festivals nearly every month, tied to gods, seasons, and city events. Panathenaea for Athena, Dionysia for Dionysus, Eleusinian mysteries for Demeter and Persephone. Some are joyful, with music, wine, and theater. Others are secret, dark, involving sacred rites whispered in darkness, attended only by the initiated. To witness them without permission is a death sentence. The gods must not be mocked. And yet, they are not purely good. They are not always just as Zeus cheats. Ares lusts for blood. Hera curses the innocent. Gods play games with mortals. They reward and punish unpredictably. The story of Niobe teaches you never to boast of your children. The story of Arachne warns against pride in your skill. The story of Icarus tells you not to fly too high. And yet, mortals try. And gods retaliate. If you are too successful, you may attract envy. If you are too beautiful, you may invite a curse. Even silence is dangerous. Those who ignore the gods are punished more severely than those who offend. You may visit an oracle, perhaps, at Delphi, where the Pythia sits upon a tripod, inhaling vapors, speaking in riddles. Her words are cryptic, but believed to come straight from Apollo. Her advice is followed without question. You bring coin, incense, and hope she speaks well of you. If she says your fate is doomed, there is no appeal. There is no confession, no absolution. Only attempts to change the outcome through more offerings, prayers, and rituals. You must stay in favor. At every threshold, you pause. Every new venture requires libation. A spilled cup may mean bad luck. A sneezing guest may signal a change. Religion governs law, politics, agriculture, marriage, travel. There is no secular. A general does not march without consulting the omens. A ship does not leave port without animal sacrifice. A woman does not give birth without prayer. To displease a god is to risk war, famine, plague. And you might not even know which god you offended. So you honor all, just to be safe. This is exhausting. You, the modern outsider, crave rest from this constant divine surveillance, but it does not relent. Even sleep is religious. Hypnos governs it, and his brother Thanatos hovers near you. Say his name softly, for fear of inviting death. You whisper charms. You hang small figures on doorposts. You wake and thank the gods for letting you live through the night. And when disaster strikes, earthquake, fire, infertility, you do not ask why. You ask which god. You consult omens. You cleanse your home. You promise better sacrifices. Next time. And still, you never know for sure if you are in favor. The gods do not answer questions. They give signs. You live in a world where the divine is real, unpredictable, and always watching. There is no break, no private self, no safe corner, only endless ritual, endless awareness, and endless guessing. Have I pleased them, or am I next? Festivals in ancient Greece are not an occasional escape from daily life. They are part of life itself, woven deeply into the structure of every city-state, every season, and every household. These are not restful events. They are performances of piety, citizenship, masculinity, femininity, wealth, sacrifice, and spectacle. You don't attend a festival the way you would modern concerts or fairs. You prepare for weeks, sometimes months. If you are poor, you work harder to afford offerings. If you are rich, you are expected to sponsor. Asterisk, there are dozens of festivals every year, some local, some panhellenic. Each one is tied to a god. Each one comes with rules. The Panathenaea honors Athena with a massive parade through Athens, carrying a sacred robe woven by elite women for the statue of the goddess. The robe itself takes nearly a year to make, with precision and ritual. Every thread, every color, every hand that touches it is watched and regulated. You, as a guest in this world, are astonished. The planning is meticulous. The ceremony is long, and it starts before dawn. Participants must fast, cleanse themselves, and be silent in procession. Children led, bearing olive branches. Women walk in rhythm. Priests carry sacred tools. Musicians play specific tunes with rigid timing. You cannot laugh. Asterisk, 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 tu. Cannot speak out of turn. Even sneezing is frowned upon. Behind the ritual lies an expectation. Maintain order, or the gods will be offended. During Dionysius, the festival for Dionysus, god of wine and theater, you think perhaps you'll see joy. There is wine, yes, and performances, yes. But the plays are not light. They are tragedies. They recount death, betrayal, guilt, fate. You sit on hard stone benches from sunrise until the sun sets, watching actors in masks howl in chorus. The air smells of incense and sweat. The audience weeps, but in public, not privately. Chris, it is part of a cleansing, a catharsis. You're not here to relax. You're here to feel, to purge, to connect to the deeper emotions of the polis. You cannot leave early. That would be rude, sacrilegious. You clap when told. You cheer for playwrights. You vote for winners. It is a civic duty, not just entertainment. Then come the physical festivals, games, held in honor of Zeus, involve not just sport, but religious offerings, sacrifices, and massive gatherings. Tens of thousands travel from across the Greek world to watch or compete. There are no hotels. You sleep outdoors. You bathe in rivers. You eat simple fare. The competitions are brutal naked wrestling, long races, javelin throws, and chariot races where accidents are fatal and common. Blood mixes with sweat. Victory is life-changing. Failure is humiliation. Women are not allowed to watch. If a woman sneaks in, she may be executed. Even female athletes have a separate festival, Harry, which is far smaller, less celebrated, and more tightly controlled. Preparation for these events is exhausting. Citizens must clean public spaces, prepare roads, paint statues, clean altars, and rehearse rituals. Children are drilled to sing hymns. Farmers bring animals for sacrifice. Bakers provide sacred cakes. Tailors sew ceremonial garments. Everyone has a role. There are no spectators, only participants. If you try to hide, you are seen as impious. If you speak out against the effort, you are shamed. If you fall ill, you still must show up. The gods do not accept absence. One of the most draining festivals is the Eleusinian Mysteries. Held in honor of Demeter and Persephone, it is deeply secretive. Participants walk miles in silence. They fast for days. They wear special garments. They undergo purification rituals. No one is allowed to speak of what happens inside the telesterion, the sacred hall. But what is known is this: the experience changes people. Some say they see visions. Others say they feel reborn. But it is not restful. It is grueling, emotional, and mysterious. You think perhaps smaller festivals are easier, but they are not. Even local feasts involve cooking, hosting, storytelling, and staying up through the night. Neighbors judge your hospitality. Priests judge your offerings. Children must behave perfectly. Women must bake specific breads. Men must slaughter animals correctly. Everything is watched. Even laughter must be controlled. It must not come at the wrong time or in the wrong way. These festivals are public theater, ritual, and civic order rolled into one. They are how a city-state shows its worth. They are how the people show their devotion. And they are constant. There is no long stretch of peace. As one ends, another begins. You long for silence. You long for solitude. But even a quiet night is interrupted by a torchlit procession, a funeral rite, or a spontaneous hymn. The gods never sleep, and so neither does the city. Begin to miss your own holidays, weekends with no obligations, sleep-ins, private birthday celebrations, dinners without sacrifice. In this world, every feast is a test, every song a tribute, every bite of bread a sacred act. You are never just eating, you are honoring Demeter. You are never just dancing. You are channeling Dionysus. You are never just resting. You are preparing for the next devotion. And if something goes wrong, a burnt offering, a cracked cup, an ill-timed word, it is remembered. Whispers spread. Blame is shared. The gods are watching, always watching. You feel not uplifted, but exhausted. And as another festival begins, with trumpets, torches, and shouting. You know the truth. Celebration in ancient Greece is not an escape, it is another form of duty. And you would not last a day. Death in ancient Greece is not simply an end, it is a transition, a journey, a set of fears, and a cultural script followed with precision. You do not die quietly. You die into a system, a ritual, a process where cure. Final breath is just the beginning. When a person takes their last breath, the room changes. Windows are opened so the soul can escape. Eyes are closed by the nearest relative, and the mouth is gently shut to keep the soul from wandering. A coin usually. An obalis placed under the tongue or on the eyes to pay Charon the ferryman of the underworld. Without this coin, your soul may be stranded forever on the riverbank of the Styx, unheard, unseen, unfelt. The body is not left alone. It is washed by female relatives, an act that is both intimate and ritualistic. They sing low prayers. They rub oils into the skin. They dress the corpse in simple white or in clothes appropriate to the family's status. This is not a moment for creativity, it is a moment for correctness. Every touch, every word, every motion must follow tradition. A mistake here is not just social embarrassment, it is religious failure. After preparation, the body is laid out for viewing, known as the prothesis. This happens immediately, usually within 24 hours. The dead must be buried quickly. The house is dark. Friends and relatives arrive, heads bowed, sometimes wailing, sometimes silent. Women take the lead in mourning. They tear their garments. They beat their chests. They wail in rhythms, part grief, part ritual. A hired mourner may be brought if the family is wealthy or the deceased was prominent. Children are told stories, the body of the deceased, and neighbors whispered tales of their deeds. Yet the atmosphere is not of comfort. It is heavy. You, as a modern visitor, feel overwhelmed. There is no laughter, no polite conversation, only ritual, only silence, only structured grief. Then comes the ekphara, the funeral procession. Before dawn, the body is carried through the streets on a wooden bier. Torches light the path. Priests walk ahead, chanting hymns. Relatives follow behind. The route is chosen with care, not too short, not too long. Bystanders step aside. No one speaks. If you speak, you dishonor the dead. If you smile, you dishonor the gods. Even your eyes must remain downcast. The cemetery is usually outside the city walls. Death must be kept apart from life. Once there, the burial or cremation begins. If buried, the body is placed in a stone or clay coffin, along with grave goods, jewelry, food, favorite items, and sometimes small figurines meant to accompany the soul into the next world. If cremated, the fire is lit with sacred wood. The flames are not left alone, they are watched, guarded, prayed over. When the fire burns low, the ashes are gathered and placed in an urn. Then buried or entombed asterisk, a grave marker is placed, sometimes simple, sometimes ornate. Wealthier families commission marble steles with carvings, showing the deceased in idealized form, often bidding farewell to the living. These are not meant to depict reality. They are meant to show virtue, piety, strength, grace. You do not show grief in these carvings. You show legacy. Mourning continues at home. The house is ritually cleansed. Water is sprinkled. Amulets are hung. No religious rituals may occur in the home for several days. It is miasma polluted by death. You wear dark clothing. You avoid celebrations. You do not marry. You do not host feasts. You live in shadow, out of respect, after a set number of days often the 3rd, the 9th, and the 30th families visit the grave, bring offerings, pour libations of wine and oil, and say prayers. These are not suggestions, they are obligations. If the dead are forgotten, they may return. The Greeks fear restless spirits, those who were unburied, dishonored, or died in tragedy. Ghosts can linger. They can whisper in dreams, cause illness, or misfortune. That is why these rituals are strict. That is why no step is skipped. The underworld itself is a complex place, not hell, not heaven, but a realm ruled by Hades and Persephone. Souls are sorted. Ordinary people go to the asphodel meadows gray, neutral, timeless. Heroes may go to the Elysian fields, a place of brightness, music, and eternal pleasure. Criminals may fall to Tartarus, where they suffer endlessly. The soul is judged not by morality alone, but by ritual correctness. Did they honor the gods? Did they live with balance? Did they fulfill their duties? The living cannot change the dead's fate, but they can ease the passage. That is why the rituals matter. That is why they are taught early. Children learn funeral hymns before they learn math. The fear of death is not hidden. It is faced. It is narrated in myths: Orpheus descending to rescue Eurydice, Achilles dragging Hector's body, Odysseus speaking with the dead in Hades. All remind the living, death is powerful, and disrespect will be punished. You cannot understand ancient Greece without understanding its relationship with death. It is everywhere, in drama, in poetry, in daily rituals. Every temple has a story of sacrifice. Every hero has a tragic end. Key. Even gods descend into death and return: Dionysus, Persephone, Heracles. To live here is to walk side by side with the dead. And as the final rites end, and the family returns from the grave, tired, red-eyed, you begin to understand. Death in ancient Greece is not a moment. It is a process, a presence, a pressure. And if you were to die here, you would not be buried in silence. You would be woven into a system of mourning so exacting, so overwhelming, so public that rest would be care, the last thing you'd find. Asterisk.